And do we have Amber on the phone?
Amber's on the phone.
Amber's on the phone.
Make sure right here. Amber, can you hear us?
Do we turn her volume up a little bit?
Yeah, we can, audio you want. Tell the microphone. All right, she's doing that, and I need to turn it up.
Oh, that's awesome.
How about now?
Hey.
Amber, can you hear us okay now?
I can hear you. I couldn't hear Melinda very well.
Can you hear me now?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, I'll try to talk a little bit louder. All right, so it is 5 o'clock, and we are going to start this meeting with conversation around our budget and capital improvement plan. And I believe we will start with the CIP. Is that correct, Mr. Roberts?
Yes, ma'am.
If that's the case, then I will turn it over to you so that we can dive in.
All right, can I do it? Yes, sir.
Thought I'd get up here, maybe Amber can hear me a little better up here also. I think the last time we chat, we talked a little bit about the CIP at multiple meetings, and, you know, it's got kind of pushed out a little bit so we could sit around the table and talk a little more about it. The last version I showed you, I think, had the highlights you see up here where we are, we had to move some projects around, make it a little more workable, and got some more feedback from department heads on, you know, with the new data, where's the timing on this? And, you know, are we ready for construction? Are we ready for design, et cetera? And what you see up here, and Bobby, I don't know if this is where the yellow highlights started at Berry Park restroom.
No,
But,
the first one's Amelia Road West. There you go.
Can you?
Can you see this one okay?
Yes, that's good.
All right, so we can work off this one. The version I sent you before with the yellow highlights is just basically is where we shifted some things around to make it work from a financial basis, or either some projects moved due to we're not ready for construction or design's not ready, et cetera. The same documents. Now, Bobby, I'm not sure of this version, right? This is the version that's in the book?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the same as the yellow document without the highlights. I know there's been some feedback from various board members about maybe wanting to talk about individual projects, et cetera. You know, what we've been instructed since I've been here is let's get projects shovel ready. Keep them moving. You know, and these projects are in various stages. Obviously, most of these projects, you've heard me talk about God knows how many times. Most of these projects have been on here before I was in here. Some are new. Some of the park projects are, you know, you'll finish in a year, but there's very few road projects that we finish in 1 to 2 years. You know, they take 3, 4, 5 years, sort of depending on, and some of these projects have been on that God knows how long, and may stay in a future year until it's ripe and time to move forward. So I can go through as many of these projects you want, at whatever level of detail you want, but we are continuing to move these projects to the finish line until you tell us to slow it down, stop it, et cetera. I know there's one particular project that's I've heard from a couple individuals on, is David Kinney Farm. And, you know, unless you want me to go through every one of these individual projects, I was just going to jump to that project. Whether you push that project out, whether you kill that project, et cetera, doesn't move the needle a whole lot. I mean, we're talking about, I think, I'm rounding numbers, $205 million worth of projects, you know, on this entire list, which there's no way we could even, you know, do all those projects anytime in the near future. That's why a lot of them are pushed out in the future. But even in the 5-year CIP, we have to do a bond at some time. We've talked about that. November 23 is what the board had suggested we move forward, and that's what we will do, move in that direction to bring back more information, move down that path. So whatever you decide to do with that project, that ain't moving the needle a lot. I know it's $1 million, $1 million, but, and we would, you know, maybe put it to another project, et cetera. It all depends on what you want to do with this project, whether you want to push it out to 73, whether we continue down that path. And maybe before you make that decision, you may want to kind of see where we are on it, how much money we spent, what are the different phases, and when we get to those phases, may help you make that decision. So I'm game to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Well, let's talk about David Kinney Farm. David Kinney Farm has been on our CIP since before 2011. It's my understanding that the main reason for this connection is the widening of 73. They're not going to be able to turn left out of, off of David Kinney onto 73. And if memory serves, we spoke with the HOAs last year. Everybody understood that this connection needed to happen in order to help the neighborhoods get in and out, specifically Breckenridge, once the widening occurred. And the HOAs chose the roundabout versus the four-way stop. That's just a little history, so everybody, those of you that weren't on the board, have that background. It does seem to me that if 73 is going to be delayed, we could theoretically delay this project. But one thing that always sticks out at me is government typically is reactive, and in this particular instance, whenever we do it, we're hoping to be proactive so that those residents aren't going to come to that future board and say, why didn't you fix this? We can't get out of our neighborhood. So I still hope that this board will continue to go down the path, whether we do it now or push it out a few years, still get that teed up before that widening happens. But that's just my 2 cents. Anybody? Commissioner Kidwell? Wait.
Amber, can you hear the mayor fine from where you are now?
I can hear her a little bit better now.
Okay.
Amber, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear loud.
All right, good. So, and I wasn't on the board when the conversations happened with the folks over on the HOA. However, the widening of Highway 73 has been pushed back.
Right.
We're at the, what's it, 2025, 2026, right? Possibly.
26.
And that's
Earliest.
the earliest. You know, I think we're probably looking closer to 28 with, you know, as we continue to hear the failure of funding at NCDOT. Steve, do you have anything on, anything added to that? So, I mean, this is one of those where, yeah, we can build it,
I'm not
but
saying
it's,
necessarily now.
I don't think it's the right time. But we need the folks over there to understand that if we push this back and we continue to push it back, there's a potential of, let's say NCDOT comes up and says, hey, we found a bag of money,
Right.
you know, in one of our storage rooms, and now we're gonna start breaking ground on 73. Well, this is gonna be behind the gun, and they are gonna be impacted, and that's the only thing I think we need to communicate with them.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Commissioner Boo?
Yes, thank you. I would like to see us, we've already got $500,000 invested in this project. I would suggest that we take the information that we have now and put it on the shelf until we know exactly what Highway 73 is going to do. It's not like Highway 73 is going to pop up here and say, hey, we're going to start next week. And once we find out more information from the state, then we'll be able to make some better plans for that community moving forward and making sure that we take it back to their HOA and discuss it. So I would be for putting this back on the shelf.
Question for staff. What have we spent to date? Where are we at in the process?
So let me tell you what the spent numbers, I'm gonna try to talk louder. So the spent numbers to date for David Kinney Farm, now this is maybe a few days, a week old, so David Kinney Farm spent to date is roughly $106,000 and another $158,000 encumbered. Sound about right, Patty?
Yeah, I'm looking at the same.
So that's the spent to date and encumbered. What you see up here is just prior year's funding, so that doesn't mean that's been spent yet. And then I'll let Stephen give you an update of what phase we in. Is this, if we stop today and said stop, is the money we spent wasted? Or maybe jump in?
Sure, so we're working on developing right-of-way level plans. That means that identifies what right-of-way would need to be acquired for the project. We're almost to that point. That's the next step in the process. You're gonna say, let's just stop, let's put this on the shelf. I'd recommend getting to that point, since you're almost there. Anyway, you already have a contract to get actually past there, but you already stop there. Then you know what a right-of-way you need to acquire. You're going to put it on the shelf, maybe you hold off on getting that right of way, if that's where you want to stop. But I'd recommend at least getting to that point where you know what right of way you would need to acquire out there, and then put the brakes on.
Commissioner Kidwell.
Look, the other three commissioners weigh in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anybody else got something to say?
Oh, I got a lot to say. So we got an email from one of their HOA board members that said 84% of the people who were surveyed on it didn't want it. And then what it came down to was that they felt like they had to pick either a knife or a gun. And that's what they felt like they were doing. I have people that come in my store, and that is one of the main things we talk about. And then another concern I have, we know how the DOT is. We know the DOT's slow. I'm already at Brown Mill and Beatty's Ford, and I see enough accidents as it is. I hate the thought of making that a cut through. People are still able to make a left out of there. Cornelius and Huntersville are going to be running the roads to accidents. And that is a safety concern for me too. And I mean, it's already bad enough on 73 as it is with the left-hand turns, but then you give people a straight shot to be able to do it who aren't even familiar with the area. Like, that's just practical concerns I have. And why, like, they don't want it. Like, they don't want it. It is a cut-through road. And when you have these well-established neighborhoods that have made Huntersville what they are, and you're like, suck it up, I don't care what you think, this is for other people, not you. I don't think that's right. And a lot of them felt like the plans and how things have progressed as of now, they felt like they had their hands tied and they were being forced into something they didn't want, and they weren't being heard. And that's a problem. Like, I mean, sidewalks and other situations like walking their kids down the road. Like that, it's just not right. So, I mean, I'm cool getting it to where it needs to be shelved, and then just seeing and playing the waiting game with DOT and the people I've spoken to that live in there. You know, what I would like to do with it versus what the whole board wants to do might be two different things. But at least we've all come to this compromise that shelving it until 73 is determined and that's done is at least a step in the right direction, because that gives them years to provide feedback as well.
Commissioner Munker?
Sure. I'm just in general agree with Mr. Trott that we should get it to a point where it's a logical stopping point. If NCDOT's not going to address 73 until at least 2026, we should not look at this until at least 2025. I still want us to be thinking ahead. It's going to be a problem when we do 73 and they're not going to be able to get in and out of Breckenridge. So I'm okay with putting it on the back burner, getting it to the appropriate place, but shelving or getting rid of it altogether, I'm not in support of. That's it.
Commissioner Partee?
Yeah, I tend to agree with all my commissioners here, since that the 73 project is going to be delayed in the near future. And listening to what Stacy said, what Commissioner Stacy said about the community itself, they're not in favor of it. I received emails also from the community, and I agree with Commissioner Phillips. We need to listen to the community and let's put it on the shelf for a while.
Commissioner Kovacs, can you hear me?
Yeah, I agree with the same sentiments, but I think we need to get it to where we can put it on the shelf and then, wait until 73 is at a point where we might need it and then revisit that.
Okay, thank you. so I guess that's the plan from, oh, Commissioner Boone?
I've got a real estate question. If my property is going to be involved in you getting right-of-way from my lot, will I have to disclose that at the time if somebody wants to purchase my property? How will that be communicated to the buyer and the seller?
Yeah, if we have right-of-way plans, we can put those on the town website. So if, again, the real estate transactions between private parties, the town doesn't approve or get in the middle of that. If they come to us with questions, the town could acquire a property. If they want to go another step further, property tends to go up in value if it's not acquired, so that could increase the cost of likely increase the cost of the project by waiting. Construction costs tend to go up. That's another point of discussion as well. You know, a couple of things just a couple other pieces of information on the project. I believe the board deferred a traffic calming decision on David Kinney Farm, pending some talk about the project. And so that has been deferred to a date to be determined. And there has not been additional discussion on that. Some other items on that project, I guess to maybe Commissioner Phillips' point, folks can make that full movement now. It is difficult to make movements out on 73. This would create a different route for people to take so they don't have to make a left out on 73. They could, whether they choose to or not. I'm not getting into that discussion, but this would create an alternative route for folks now. They can't get there. This would also create a location for people to cross Burkdale Commons, since it would be a roundabout at a slower traffic condition. So just a couple things to, again, just throwing out information to consider in the process.
You know, I remember when the town came in and put the roundabout and the connection in on the backside of Winfield. And I remember hearing the community, they didn't want it, but the town moved forward with those roundabouts and make that connection. And now that community can't imagine it not being there for them to be able to get in and out in a safe fashion. That gives them multiple options. That always stuck in my mind because I sat in the boardroom as a citizen watching that transpire, and then to talk with citizens, you know, what, 13, 14 years later, that struck me, just the need that you didn't realize. Commissioner Kidwell, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so I think that what I heard, and I think what we're telling staff is to get David Kinney connection to a stopping point.
To the right-of-way
To the right-of-way
without
phase.
buying any right-of-way.
Correct.
Shelter.
Correct. Until we get closer to the 73 widening project.
Yes, that's what I'm hearing, which is probably 25, 26, 27, who knows?
Okay. Everybody? Good? Okay.
I think that general consensus I hear was that, so we're good with that, and we will adjust. I'll get with Patty and Jackie, and we'll adjust the numbers in the CIP accordingly, and get with Stephen so that we shore that up. And so basically, 23 numbers will move out. We probably got enough funding already in prior years, so I imagine 23 and 24 numbers will slide out at least to 25, 26. That's my short answer to what we would do. But we will get and confirm, but it sounds like the prior year dollars, assuming that's the right number there, that we got plenty of dollars to get it to where we need to, right, Stephen? Because it's already encumbered. Okay, good.
Are there other projects that the board would like to discuss? Commissioner Boone?
I have a question on number 37 and 39. This is the Irving Cook Road extension and the upgrading of the existing Irving Cook Road. There's about 16 million bucks there, 15, 16, and it's out in the future. But if a developer was going to come in there and develop that property, and I believe there's some discussion that might happen in the future, wouldn't the developer have to put that road in?
Depends, but portions of it, yes. You know, on this end towards the Gilead Road side, if all of that land were developed, a lot of little long skinny parcels, They got to get access to those properties, so they would likely build portions of that. And on the upper end, there was a subdivision that was approved, I forget the name, they're still working through some of the right-of-way. They would be building a portion of that, so it could be many portions of it get built. Even the park, if the park, for some reason, were to develop sooner rather than later, then maybe portions, they get built.
But that 15, 16 million bucks could go down to 5 million, possibly.
In likelihood, being it's in a future year, which is at least 5, 6 years out, I wouldn't bet you $1 that 16 million is even close. Who knows, 6, 7 years from now.
Well, it shows up in the final total of all these projects together.
Yeah, but, when I say that's in the out year, what year is that, future year? So if it's in a future year, to be honest with you, it's a project that's on the list, but it would not be in bonds if we go to bonds.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Munker?
I have a bunch of questions.
All right.
So I'm gonna point out 8 different projects,
Okay,
and
tell me where to start.
I'm gonna refer to them as the Vermillion effect.
Okay,
Siegel Street to McCord to NC 73.
okay, so can I stop on that one first? Because that is not a Vermillion project. So that
It's
one,
not related at all to Vermillion Village.
no, sir. So that is Huntersville, everybody know where Huntersville Hardwood site is off of McCord? Was Huntersville Hardwood site? That's under development. So our Church Street extension that literally would go from 73 all the way down to Brighton in some shape, form, fashion. That's making the connection from 73 to McCord. And a developer is looking to develop that site now and build a majority of the portion of the road through the Huntersville Hardwood site. And we would be looking to take the portion right off the edge of the Huntersville Hardwood site and connect it north of 73. And then also they are looking at a potential roundabout right now in the plans right at McCord, where McCord ties into Church Hagers. So that's that project. And so this is more of a, get at what Mr. Boone said earlier. The developer would build in a big portion of this. If the developer didn't do that, this is a project we would be looking at on a future, CIP that is a major connector, another north-south connector, tying, multiple sections together. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just want to take it out of the Vermillion pot.
That's fair. I will eliminate that from that one. Church Street, Holbrooks to Delwood.
Okay. Church Street, Holbrooks to Delwood is not necessarily a Vermillion project.
Vermillion feeds that one.
But Vermillion does, there's Vermillion off of Delwood, some pieces off of Delwood, and obviously some Vermillion that comes off of Holbrooks, further at the other end.
Yeah.
But that project is making a connection. It's the same connection, but way further south.
Well, that one's actually part of the forward thinking that once we
That's
do
trying to
Stumptown-
get Pottstown to downtown.
Right, but it's also, once we do Stumptown Crossing, we're gonna lose that railroad crossing at Delwood.
That is correct.
And I, a Vermillion resident, will be using that road to get out. So, that's why I kind of call it Vermillion. Siegel Street, Siegel to 4th Street.
So Siegel to 4th Street ties basically from Rama Church back over to, make sure I'm right, back over towards, I guess that would be 4th Street.
Yeah.
And kind of lining that up. Now, that is a tight segment.
Yes, it is. All right, Gibson Park Drive Phase 2.
Gibson Park Drive Phase 2.
Which is under
Basically, we did Gibson Park Phase 1 as part of, we actually sped that project up ahead of Main Street. And Gibson Park Phase 2 will be given the same sort of road profile as you cross the railroad tracks over into Vermillion.
Right. Church Street realignment to Walter Street.
All right, hold on, let me make sure I'm looking.
Now we're into future.
Now, that project is definitely, I think that's one that we pushed out. A lot of that sort of realignment in some of those areas was sort of tied into Vermilion front, the word Vermilion. So some of these projects, with no movement on some of that, or activity on some of those projects, we've pushed those out till we get maybe some better information on how those projects sort of get going.
All right.
On the Main Street project.
Yep, that's another good one. Holbrooks between NC 115 and Central.
So that project is a future project. It's just a small segment. I mean, it is a tiny segment, basically from 115, let me make sure I'm looking at the right one, 115 over to Central Avenue, that little section, doing some improvements. It could be sidewalk improvements, some road improvements. You're dealing with the railroad track, which may take Matt to, go see either this president or the next president. It'll take a little time. But that project is such a small segment, it got pushed out. There are probably better needs in Pottstown than that little section.
Gotcha. Huntersville, Concord, Walters to Second. Again, we're in future.
Huntersville Concord Road.
Yeah, that one right there. It is that one.
I'm missing a section on that?
Third. It's on,
Yeah, that one's pushed out, but Huntersville Concord Road, is there another piece
it's
of
on,
that?
yeah, on down. Keep underneath McCoy, right there. That one.
Okay, Walters, Huntersville
The
Concord.
one that just says Huntersville Concord Road is the one I'm talking about
Oh.
right now.
What is it? That one. What's that? I'm a little off on that description because that's why I know the one below it.
The note I made is it takes it from Walters to Second. There's some sidewalk improvements, I believe.
Is that what that one is?
That is.
3-lane section?
Yes,
Okay, so that's,
it's 170.
173.
that one's all tied into the, some of the, Vermilion, some of that area over there, trying to widen that, that section. We've pushed that one out quite a bit.
All right. And the last one is the one that you were looking at before, the Walters,
Walter.
Huntersville Concord to 3rd Street.
Same thing, Vermilion, Vermilion.
So the point I'm trying to make here is not 8 anymore. We have 7. What did Vermilion, the developers, all of them, I guess, contribute in terms of traffic impact fees?
That one I'll have to probably punch the Stephen in, but I don't know of any.
Because these projects total $16.42 million. And if you throw Main Street in there, which I didn't throw Main Street in there, because Main Street contributes, a lot of it will be to connect to Vermilion Village, but it's hard to put the whole amount in there. You could easily say it's $20 million. We are having developers come in, put in massive developments, and burden the town with all of these road improvements, and we're getting zero out of it. I mean, we are getting property taxes. I shouldn't say we're getting zero out of it, but this is one subdivision. $20 million. That's 10% of our capital improvement projects.
Now would you buy a house over there?
I mean, why would you buy a house over there? Oh, wait.
And what I would say is some of those connections, even though, yes, they're all around Vermilion, et cetera, some of them are, may not be right through Vermilion. Some are, Vermilion, like Anchor Mill, like the section that goes from, Huntersville Concord, that ties into Anchor Mill is going through some of that older section that is really not part of Anchor Mill, that we'd be upgrading to try to get that north-south connected, all sort of look the same, feel the same, et cetera. And then the one by the church, what section is that straightens the curve out that goes by the X apartments? I forgot the name of the apartments, but that's not technically in Vermilion either, so this is, lining that north-south connectors up.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Vermilion was approved, the big part of Vermilion was approved in the 1990s before Huntersville even considered TIAs. Vermilion Front, which has the townhomes, that was part of the original from the 1990s. Okay? But Vermillion Village did get approved after the TIA, and so there are improvements that they have to do as a result of that. So I just wanted to make sure that got on record, that the vast majority of Vermillion was approved close to a decade before we even had the TIA.
Fair point.
Do you know how much money Vermillion Village has racked up in TIA? As far as
That's a
road,
Stephen question.
anyone?
And just to clarify the question, you're talking about the TIA itself or the road?
The road improvements that come from these TIAs.
So since the developer is paying 100% for their improvements, we don't get involved in the financing. I believe they just had to put turn lanes on Huntersville Concord at their entrances. So
But if they didn't build their development, they wouldn't have had to do the turn lanes, right? Or there would have been no need.
well, DOT may have determined for a driveway permit, they had to put in turn lanes. I think they also had to make a signal modification right out here at this intersection too, but it's a traffic signal modification, not at the additional plans.
Have more. Commerce Center Drive.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Commerce Center Drive?
So Commerce Center Drive is the section off of Holbrook that connects up, that will come off of Holbrook. And I don't know if you know exactly where the little bus stop is, right there on
All the trees.
Gilead, right there, that will tie into Commerce Center Drive by the post office, that will tie into Arahover roundabout,
Yeah.
that will come back out down by Cookout area.
Yeah, so my question specifically is, because of the widening and/or whatever we want to call the new interchange they're doing at Gilead, I noticed it extends quite a fair way
It goes
down.
past there.
Will it have an effect on this particular project?
We're designing that project to tie into what they're doing,
Yeah.
and we're hopeful that we can maybe get out there and build it around the same time that they're out there as well.
Okay, that's good to know.
So you remember we built Holbrook over to I get when I had asked to it, Holbrook over to Aldi, back of Aldi. That road would curve around and tie back into 21. And then so, folks may hit that, come off 21 and then go up Commerce Center Drive, cut across through the post office, Arahover, and cut them up.
I love the Arahova thing because that's going to extend our greenway through to the tunnel, right? That's part of that project.
It'll be right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Splash pad. I noticed we have possibly two. One is at North Mac Park. Do we have a destination for number two?
MJ, probably in his back pocket.
We haven't officially picked any location. Ideas will either North Mac or maybe Waymer. So if we had to, there would probably be the two locations. I said the one thing we learned about Waymer is the parking. Now the Waymer Center's about to back up.
Yep.
Those fields are in use. If we lose that gravel parking lot in the back of Waymer, there would be some challenges for parking. So that parcel, I think, the parking times, it's still a landmark. So if something happened to that development, maybe you don't have parking, that might be a challenge.
So
Those would be the two locations.
let me piggyback on that, because is North Mac Park the ideal location?
I think there's pretty good locations central town.
So I thought Holbrook at one time was the ideal. I thought Holbrook was of course, we don't have land there, but if you had a choice to pick, if it was Michael J. Cox world, where would you put a,
Well, consider the best situation for people parking into the North Mac property. For the first one.
So then question about that, are the restrooms close enough to where you're choosing to locate it at North Mac Park?
So there's three options, but the one option is probably best for the parking, and it's not close to a building, so you would still have to do your pump outs in a building, a little restroom building like at Rosedale.
So we still have to build another one, another restroom area?
I think either way, you would have to do that.
And
There's
is
one
there,
location at North Mac near the restroom building that's close to the playground, which I have concerns of what kids coming off of a splash pad and slide down, slide,
Oh.
flying off, so.
absolutely, plus the parking lots, I mean,
That
you
parking
get,
lot is full. That parking
too
lot is
many.
full.
right. So do you have enough in your ask to build not only the splash pad, but also the restrooms?
I'd say no, if that's the case. If there's a restroom with it, I doubt that's the right number.
Well, we just freed up money with the David Kenny thing.
You didn't free it up. You just
For
split it
now,
out.
though, you can switch around the dates, because I'm telling you, the splash pad thing, I will go to the mat for every darn day. It's one of the most requested amenities in our town. We piggybacked off of letting Burkdale do that for us for a lot of years. I hear a lot.
They'll put one back. There's one coming back.
But it's still not a private business's job to do the job of the town.
I'm all for it. You can we can
And-
build it today if you like, but
Well,
I'm
let's
for
get
it.
to it.
That number doesn't change for sure. It's
That number is not 420. I bet my house and car it ain't 425 if there's a bathroom going with it.
Well, if the board wants to move the splash pad project forward, then we need to make sure that the number is an accurate number.
Well, and also, so Waymer Park improvements, that's a thing too. Why wouldn't we just go ahead and do the splash pad and do it all in big one, you know? Because why are you gonna tear this up, then come in and then do more and then have to tear more up? So why wouldn't we just go for it?
I think one of the concern is the parking. In the long term, we lose that gravel parking lot, and now we got $400,000 splash pad, no one can park anywhere, then we have to park on the road and have those issues, which we've had in other places. That would be my concern, is the parking over there, long term.
But we can at least start with North Mac, right?
Yeah.
Well, before we get over our skis, I'd like to hear from the other commissioners as to what in regards to the splash pad and if they wanted to move that project forward. Commissioner Boone?
Yeah, let's move it to 23. No matter what park we choose, we'll probably get some pushback from the people who didn't get the project. But I think right now, let's go ahead and instead of doing none, let's do at least one. 23.
So one splash, that's your recommendation, one splash pad?
North Mac Park, and we'll get a new, well, assuming that's where the board goes, we'll get a new number, but I bet it's not more than the million that was up there for that we pushed out.
Commissioner Partee?
Yeah, I agree. Let's move forward with the splash pad.
Commissioner Kidwell?
What's did the restrooms over here at Veterans Park cost?
It's 200, 220, 2something.
Did that include the $30,000 tap fee and all that?
2.25.
And we went with a firm out of Raleigh, and I would just say I don't think
That-
we'd ever use that firm again.
Because they were so expensive?
No.
They were the cheapest,
No,
and
I'm
it was
kidding.
painful.
Yeah, I'm good with moving it over and, find out what's gonna cost and get the restroom built at the same time.
Maybe we get who was it that paid for the one in Quincy?
Kiwanis.
Kiwanis,
paid for
Rotary,
that.
maybe those two come together and pay
No,
for
it
it.
wasn't Rotary, it was Kiwanis.
We put a wheel on
Commissioner Munger?
Yeah, definitely in favor. I mean, building one in North Mac makes sense, and then we can figure out where to prioritize number 2.
Commissioner Kovacs?
Yeah, I agree. When reading on here, it says it's one of the most requested amenities. So I think we should be putting the money towards things that have been requested and not for things like David Kenny that people are asking not to do.
it. We got a marching order.
So I think we took the dog park off. That was number one for like forever, I feel like. Now that's off. Now the splash pad has moved up the list, and hopefully we'll get that one checked off the block.
Yeah, and if we got some partners out there, we take those partners out. Rotary, Kiwanis, Jack, Mr. Boone, whoever's in Kiwanis,
No,
why
that's what we're
not?
here for.
That's right.
Stacy's Farm, whoever.
Yep. Commissioner Munger has a couple more items.
All right, and this, I apologize, I may have this mentally wrong in my head, but the Birkdale Commons extension to Oliver Hager.
Say that again.
Birkdale Commons extension to Oliver Hager. Future, long future.
That's the
Yeah.
bridge over the
So my
swamp.
question is specific to, at one point, the, Stacy, Fire Station 2 is by your house, is that
Yes.
the right one? We were talking, there was a possibility of Fire Station 2 moving to a new location. Would it have any effect on this particular improvement?
So
Or
Fire
is this
Station
needed
2
for
is,
that?
Fire Station 2 is in this area. And Fire Station 2, we will be moving on that land probably by the end of this month,
Okay.
in some shape, form, or fashion. If Emily gives me the head nod. Maybe so. Yes. The answer is yes, but not a hard yes from Emily over there. But that's where we're heading on that. So we are banking that land, but eventually that road would come by the front of that. Because we would have to see what we do with the station. So we're banking the land for a future station
Right.
at that location. So yes, and so would it connect back up through Burkdale, it would come out to 73, and then eventually go all the way over to Gillett, and up across by the county parkland that's out there too.
So would you need this road in place before opening that fire station?
Before opening, you may be able to go back south, but those are things we'd have to work out. The key now is to bank the land,
Yes.
and then, there's subdivision that we got approved near 73. If they move forward, it gets that road a little closer. There's a subdivision that backs up to that triangle piece of land,
Right.
maybe able to connect back to, so we'd need to figure all that out.
Right. Just keep it in mind, we will need this road before that station opens. Just thoughts.
Commissioner Kidwell?
Go ahead.
I'm going to piggyback on this. Since you brought up the fire station, and you brought up banking the land, what happens to the current fire station? Because we don't know.
That's right.
So are they going to sell that and then put some money in the pot towards this new fire station or the road?
We haven't worked out those details.
Those are kind of important details to be worked out before we start buying land for a new station and building a road.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, if the fire department owns that land, you would take to look at what could you do with that, potentially use those proceeds to either equipment or building. Those are things we look at. Typically, they put it towards, like, when they sell an old fire truck that we don't own, they put it towards new equipment. So, those are things we would look at. If they bank money and build up a fund balance, and they come to us and ask more money, and we'll say, well, why do you need money? You got a big fund balance. That's the way that would work. There's no need for that station, and this is the land that,
I just don't want to get into the same predicament we were with the North Mac Rescue building down here.
Yeah.
I mean, the board ended the contract with them, paid all their money in the years. They held on to that building. That's their building.
if that were the case and we couldn't work out a deal, I'd imagine the way land is, we could get rid of that land for what you end up paying for it. If it had to be, if that use went away and that deal could not be worked out, the station can never be expanded where it is. So it will never serve the need, and it's too far out on Beattiesville Road ideally. It's really no different than the station that we have on Eastfield is not the ideal location. You know, it's bucked up against Charlotte, so you're on the periphery this way, and it should be more of a circle radius, you know, to serve the community.
Well, I do agree with you, Commissioner Kidwell. I think that that's a conversation that we should be having with the fire department and making sure that everyone's understanding that once we do build Station 2, that replacement, that the proceeds, we got to figure out how they're going to utilize those and then reinvest back into that new station.
Well, and that piece of land's not gonna be a cheap piece of land because everything around there's zoned highway commercial and it's a node. I mean, they're my
Stuff keeps
neighbors.
building around it, it's only gonna keep,
Yeah, so
Right.
that's the thing. I mean, they might be sitting on some of the most expensive land in Huntersville eventually, so it'd be cool if they could help kind of pay their debts with us.
and we can work through that as we're working through. There may be a way we can work through agreement on that, you know, as we're working through obtaining this land, that we may be able to get something in our agreement, in the fire agreement coming up soon.
Yes, sir.
So maybe that's a piece we could work in there to spell that out. I think Mr. Boone and Mr. Partee would be involved in that, so I think we could, Emily and Jackie, if you'll remind me, and
Yes, sir.
Mr. Partee and Boone, that may be a great opportunity to work that out. I don't see that as unreasonable.
I agree. You have more?
Last one, and I don't know if it's relevant, might be later, you can tell me. ARPA funds as they relate to storm sewer, now or later?
So, say that again?
ARPA funds as they relate to storm.
The projects
storm
that,
sewer.
you know, we were going to.
It's not a specific project, although it relates to some, my question.
So we took the 4.8 and did one thing, supplant it. And all that's going to, yeah, I said it, salaries, HPD, salary. Isn't that what we're doing with the 4.8? Now, the
Yes, sir.
12
Yes, sir.
is a whole different story.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So maybe it's the 12.
Stormwater, or whatever, different thing.
Right, so we have, as recently noted by a number of our constituents, a stormwater issue in the Walter Street area. Are any of the funds going to address that particular issue? And I know we have a number of projects that relate to that. Should we not be trying to, if we're addressing stormwater issues there, should we not be trying to address the street improvement issues there at the same time?
So I don't think we have any, and Kevin, Stephen, Bobby, whoever, jump on up here, but I don't think we have a specific stormwater project related to that. Now, if it's Walter Street area and all that, we would try to fix stormwater issues as much as possible with street improvements.
But a number of those projects are future, whereas we have to spend that money by December 24?
We may have some independent stormwater projects. We're looking at doing a stormwater management plan for downtown, to do like an asset inventory, and we've heard a number of issues within the last year or two around the downtown, tends to be where you have the oldest infrastructure. So we're looking at doing a planning exercise that will potentially produce projects we can do on top of looking at doing stormwater part of our road projects as we presented previously.
But we have stormwater funds set aside for individual stormwater projects. So
Okay.
that could be addressed with stormwater funds and not necessarily ARPA funds.
That $12 million potentially from the state must be committed, think under contract to do something with by December 31, 24,
Yep.
and we have till 26 to spend it.
Okay. My only point is, if you decide that, hey, some of these areas right up around here are great candidates for stormwater, we should be open to the possibility of saying, let's hit the streets at the same time. Let's get it all taken care of at once. You dig into the ground once, don't dig into the ground twice. Get it all done.
And we'll be bringing those 12 million back to the board for ideas on that. I know we submitted some ideas, but we'll get finalized on that. Bobby, Jackie, yes, no?
The board has done no budget amendment authorizing how to spend that 12, and we don't have that 12.
So yes, we will be coming back to you.
We're still waiting on the state as well.
Okay.
That's all I have.
That is all you have. Commissioner Kovacs, do you have any projects you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I'm so glad that Commissioner Munger went before me, so now I don't have to talk as much, because I had a lot of good thing points. I had a similar question, basically in the fact that I think that we have some projects on here that are on here for right now that should be much further out if they have anything to do with 73 widening or any of that. I would rather see Walters from Huntersville Concord to 3rd moved up, and something like Church Street, Holbrook to Dugwood moved down, because what I feel like when I'm looking at the CIP, it seems like we're working on roads to make it more accessible in new neighborhoods, but we're not working on the existing roads that people have been struggling with for a long time. So my questions were just about the Church Street, Siegel, McCord to 73, David Kinney, and Walters mainly.
So David Kinney, we saw, based on the feedback, 73 McCord is I'd say more of a partnership project, which is a very good project. That we need to work with Hunters or Hardwood, or either we may have to swallow the whole nut. So that's a project I think we should definitely keep on there. The I heard you say Walter Street to Third. Obviously, we could do that one at the, say that again, I'm sorry, Commissioner Kovacs.
No, I mean, I heard what you guys just said about, I agree with Lance, if we do end up, we're gonna work on some stormwater there, I think we need to be focusing on all of it at the same time.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that I would build the road yet on that. You may be able to look at some, if we're talking about Walters the Third, because there's so much stuff in there that could potentially be redeveloped. But I would definitely, we can look at the stormwater, see how we can maybe fix some stormwater issues in there. That would be my thoughts on that, but I don't know, Kevin, Stephen, whoever have any other comments, but we can definitely use stormwater funds to address some of that. I would not probably widen that street, at this point in time, because you have nothing going on in Anchor Mill in some of those areas. All that stuff is supposed to tie into Anchor Mill.
And they'll have to take care of that?
No.
No, we take care of that. So we don't want we don't want to put it in only for it to be torn up and us to have to go back in and fix it.
Possibly, but you want to make sure, see what they do and make sure we're lining up with everything they have. And there's other lots in there that are, I think, vacant lots, I think, on the corner. There's some vacant lots there on the corner. So there's some redevelopment opportunities there. Could do that too.
Well, those and, what Commissioner Phillips already said about moving the splash pad up were my biggest thing from the CLP.
I said splash pad CIP. She's all good with it.
Oh, she's good with, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. All right. Anything else, Commissioner Kovacs?
No.
All right. I hope you feel better soon.
Yep.
Commissioner Kidwell, do you have anything else?
I was going to talk about a few things, but Lance really just took the wind out of the sails. So I'm just going to.
Okay. Commissioner Partee?
No, I have none, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Boone?
I was talking about Cook Road Extension,
Yeah,
that's.
I'm just making sure that I'm going back and making sure we're, Commissioner Phillips?
I can go home right now, I'm good.
Okay. So do you feel comfortable with what you've heard from this board?
I think we've got our marching orders between Patty and Jackie and I think those two of the brain trust will figure it out.
Okay. Do we want to transition to a conversation around the budget?
There were a couple more items, and Jackie may have to help me because I've talked a lot here, but,
Let's talk revenue.
yep.
Okay.
Vehicle fee. We have a $20 vehicle fee that has been in effect for roughly 15 years. It's been $20 since we initiated it. We've never changed it. It's generating basically $47,750 per dollar. Statutorily, we're probably limited to no more than a $30 fee. Huntersville wisely, uniquely set that revenue aside in a separate fund and can wholeheartedly attribute every dollar that we have received either to debt on a transportation-related project or directly to a transportation project. There are several projects in the CIP that suggest we use that as a funding source. We're generating, call it $955,000 a year in revenue. Is there an appetite to change that fee to a different number to attempt to generate more revenue? If you changed it from ballpark $20 to $25, it would generate ballpark an additional $235,000.
And that was a topic that sort of, in some of the emails and conversations from board members over the budget. So we got 3 or 4 of those that we just want to bring up and just get some direction. As Jackie said, would you look to increase it another $5, generate roughly $250,000
So that would be
towards transportation
my
projects?
question to the board then. Do you want to go 5? Do you want to go 10 and tap out? Or do you want to leave it alone? Or
Let's just get rid of it.
get rid of the
Get
vehicle
rid of
fee?
it. We pay Mecklenburg County taxes already on our vehicles. Every year, when we renew our license or registration, we're paying a ton of money into the county, who does nothing for roads. You know, but yet we're charging an additional tax. That's double taxation on our vehicles. We're charging a tax, county's charging a tax. Why not just get rid of it?
Commissioner Munger.
I'm not for getting rid of it. I'm also probably not for raising it. In the grand scheme of things, $200 million for the project, $250,000. Almost sounds like more pain than it's worth. I would be open to remaining at 20.
So Commissioner Munger, you would be open to remaining, I just want to make sure that Commissioner Kovacs
Yep,
hears
sorry.
us. You're interested in leaving it alone. Commissioner Phillips?
I'm the one who brought this up about raising it, which probably is shocking to some of you. The reason why is we have a lot of road projects, and there are some that are small little road projects, and we get in the weeds, we get in our own way. So, you know, 1/4 of $1 million is 1/4 of $1 million. This is how we keep things from having to raise taxes. And fees are taxes, let's be flipping real. The county is the county, and that's like trying to get the ABC money that they owe us. It's just not gonna happen. But I like the thought, because it is transportation based. There is no manipulating it to do something shady over here. This is actually road money going to roads. And, Jackie, could that go to traffic signals or crosswalks?
Theoretically, it could go for whatever you decide you want it to. I have a well-documented experience at a different municipality in Mecklenburg County, and they drop it in their general fund, and it's a part of the general fund revenue. It's not exclusively tied to a transportation project.
Well, I like it being tied to transportation, but to me, transportation is also bike and your feet, you know? So I feel weird sitting here advocating for raising money, but DOT is gonna pull their stuff. I don't know, I just felt like, I don't wanna raise our tax base, but the fee at least, you're paying for what you have. It's not penalizing people who people who walk or don't have cars. And I feel like that's a little bit more, there's no such thing as fair in this either, but I don't know, it was just an idea.
So-
$250,000.
So you bring up a great question. We have only spent these dollars, the vehicle fee dollars, on road projects, correct?
Transportation related.
I would
Correct.
call it transportation.
Have we
Theoretically, that
put them
might
into
include us.
sidewalks?
No, we typically use
We
power
typically,
funds for that.
correct. We typically put them into something that's in the asphalt, right? Between the lines.
Vehicle tax for vehicles.
Correct, right? It's a vehicle tax for vehicles, so it should be limited to road projects.
But hawk signals are a road project to me. Like what we have out here at Huntersville Elementary School. And, we talked about doing that over at North Meck High School. Well, here's some of the funding to cover things like that.
Have we done that in the past?
Patty, is that debt being spent on the improvements on 73?
Yes.
Kevin, would you argue the improvements on 73 included sidewalks?
Holistically?
Any transportation related, you can spend on transportation.
If it matters, the other Mecklenburg towns that have this fee, Davidson's is $20 like us, Mint Hills is $10, Matthews is $25, Cornelius is $10, and Charlotte is $30.
But Cornelius is raising their taxes this year. So that's where you kind of bite yourself in the butt sometimes.
And Davis is raising theirs.
Yeah.
Right.
We're just looking for direction, whatever that is.
So, Commissioner Boone?
I say that we keep it at $20. If we put another $5 onto this, we're going to have waste management coming up with another $5 or $6, and all this starts adding up, all these little $5 and $10 bills. I would not think about moving that higher.
Okay. Commissioner Partee?
I'm not for eliminating it, and I'm not for increasing the rate. I'd rather keep the rate as is right now. It's just the fact that inflation and what's going on economically with this country, I would just prefer to just leave it as it is and continue from there.
Commissioner Kovacs?
I think, I don't know what I think. I think just staying at the 20 is appropriate, because there are, you are paying the county. And just staying at 20, because there might be people that have multiple cars that they really don't drive often, and I think we're kind of penalizing that.
As a farm people, I would like to say we probably pay more than most people ever do. And I'm sitting here raising prices on myself.
Just put a farm use tag on the back, piece of cardboard and tie a coat hanger to it and write farm use. That's what I used to do.
Teach me how to cheat the system. I like it.
All right, so it sounds like the board is not in favor of raising the vehicle fee, so we'll leave it at 20, or eliminating. And another topic I think we need to kind of nail down is the solid waste fee.
Mr. Boone put it right on us for, that's the next one we were getting ready to talk about. Jackie can tell us, we already in the budget what we have gone from to what we have proposed.
The solid waste fee in fiscal '22 currently is $109. Our understanding was the general consensus was to raise that $17 to $126 per residential unit. Patty, ballpark, every change in every additional dollar generates ballpark
About 20,000.
19,525.
More than
I got,
And the change that we moved it to covers about 55% of the cost.
Yes.
So
May I-
126 covers?
126 would cover ballpark, 55%. Since we presented our budget, other agencies have presented their budget. My understanding is the town of Davidson, who currently has a $201 fee, solid waste fee per resident, is proposing a 3-cent tax increase and the elimination of their solid waste fee. If you'd like to hear me say what other solid waste fee is.
And for them, that's I don't know how you want to look at it. For them, that's a smart move.
They have different fee
Get a
amounts that
bigger piece of
apply
the
in
pie and sell tax.
multifamily. The county solid waste fee is $39.50. The city of Charlotte solid waste fee in the current year is $75.02.
What percentage is that of Charlotte? Do you have any idea?
What percentage?
Like ours is 55% of the total cost.
I don't know what percentage that's covering.
Well, so to go back to Davidson, I mean, eliminating their fee, but raising their taxes by what, 3 cents?
3 cents.
So now you're gonna tax your businesses, and those businesses are still gonna have to provide their own solid waste service. So
And
they're getting-
there will be an impact for them in their sales tax distribution in the following year.
So is there interest in, I mean, I thought we had consensus at 126. Is there an interest to change that?
I brought
Commissioner
that up on one of my lists of things to talk about, and I just brought it up there for discussion, getting the feel of how much stuff we were wanting to do with taxpayer money for nonprofits for this. We're going to have to start looking for other ways to get revenue. So I'm just throwing it up there and seeing if there's anybody that would like to go higher, keep it the same, just move on, just to talk about it.
Sounds good. Commissioner Kovacs, would you like to weigh in?
I'm okay with how it is, the $17 increase.
Commissioner Partee?
When it comes to solid waste removal, I'm for the increase. I mean that's a no-brainer for me.
But the 17,
Yes,
no more than that?
no more than that.
Okay. Commissioner Kidwell?
Whatever we agreed to prior.
Okay. Commissioner Phillips? Just
I mean,
saying.
that generates a lot less money than vehicle dollars. I'm thinking like Jackie now, if you guys haven't been able to tell.
Commissioner Munger?
Yeah, I mean, 126 would be the minimum. I was probably one of the people who was more towards pushing towards making this more self-sustaining. You know, I mean, we're subsidizing trash service by 45% of it. That's, I mean, the opposite route is, Davidson route almost makes sense, but I know no one in the room has the desire to adjust the tax rate upwards, so unless anyone else wants to go up, 126 is fine.
Well, I mean, the fuel charges, if you look in here, are absolutely insane, and I
They're
know
only
that.
gonna go up.
Well, that's it. Like the gas across the street from the store went up 10 cents overnight. So I'm just sitting here thinking like, oh my gosh. The only thing my biggest hang up with trash services, you can't pick who your provider is. So it's almost like a forced fee on people. Like there's not a way to opt out and say, you know what, I want to take my trash to the dump. Or I'm going to be green and only recycle and do it myself. So that's where I get hung up on trash. But then again, I hate the thought of the government subsidizing people for a service. So I don't know, but the gas price is going up. I don't think we're going to see them come down. It's kind of scary. And then we're paying that too.
Contract.
They
Yeah,
have
I
there's a
mean,
fuel surcharge in the contract.
they don't have a choice, but at the same time, they're only paying 55% of what they
Yeah.
would normally have to pay if they went out and got it themselves. You know, what is the proper potential spam? Someone wants me. What's the proper discount? I mean, 45% seems excessive to me. 25% probably way too far, too fast.
But you have to also remember that we have, over the course of the last several years, we have inched it up. It was, I mean, subsidized much less than
We used to
40%.
subsidize over 50% of it, if I remember right. Jack, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, we're making progress,
it's just not fast progress.
not fast enough for me.
So could we not this year, God, I'm turning into Lance. Maybe do 130, do a $4 extra, and that could be like fuel surcharge, and then maybe next year gas prices are cheaper and we knock the $4 off?
There's a fuel charge clause in the contract we have with them now.
Okay.
So it's not a fixed cost that they charge us. They do have a,
Quarterly basis, I think.
right?
Anthony, if it matters, Davidson's proposed increase is 3.5 cents, not just 3.
Okay.
So where are we at? 126, 130? I felt like I'd heard 126.
126.
I'm going to stick with 126 too, but I think we need to have this discussion because like Lance has said, is that 2 years from now, this thing will be $150, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Has to be.
Yep.
But then you have to think with those, my concern, like I like gradual increases on people because it doesn't kick them underneath, like it doesn't kick the stool from underneath them. So what my concern is, I mean, you know, another board comes in here and they jack it up to neutral, then that's gonna be like $100 increase, if not more. So I feel like I'm trying to make things gentler on people, but also these are those little ways that we can make sure we don't have to raise our taxes.
How long is our contract with the?
And that's where I was
Next
going.
year.
Trash provider?
It ends at June 30, 23, so in the budget year you're adopting, the garbage contract will be over.
So we'll be revisiting
And the
this.
board directed us to look at rebidding that, is what we heard at the workshop.
Which is great, is what if we solve all the issues and we no longer subsidize any of it, we don't provide any of it, and we tell people they have to privatize their own service. It's done throughout communities around the country, and I've lived in a few of those communities where I was responsible. I had 3 trash providers, and I had to call one of them and pay a monthly fee and let them take care of it. And then the town's out of it. You could throw it out as an option to the people, yeah. We raise your rates, and your revenue neutral over the next few years with trash service, or you pay for it yourself. And then you have the option of running it to the dump, recycling, composting, or whatnot.
So let me tell you about growing up in Huntersville before trash services were provided. My parents owned a gas station, they had dumpsters. Anybody who owned a business in Huntersville had keypad locks on their dumpsters because people would dump illegally. And then you would have to call the cops and or you have jerks, which I'm surprised it didn't cost. You have jerks who don't care and then they would throw it on the side of the road and then you have a litter problem.
Well, if you hate the government subsidizing for a service, this is one way out of it. We no longer subsidize for a service. We allow them to go out and find their own service.
They won't,
You
they
put
will
the
take advantage of
responsibility back on
businesses.
the people.
Because I've had, even out the store, broad daylight, our recycling bin that we pay for out of our pockets, I've had to run people off for trying to use that. And I'm like, you
Stacy,
get,
I understand, and unfortunately, that comes with owning a business where you've got a large trash receptacle right there, and it sucks, and people are gonna be jerks no matter what, whether we provide the trash service or don't. But let's look at all options, and then if everybody really just wants to get out of the trash business, if the town wants to get out of the trash business, then we say to the residents of the town, hey, in 2 years, we're no longer providing it. Here's the providers in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, best wishes.
And the only thing I'd say that maybe is a lot more cars
Because
on the
we're
road
already
and
doing that with
trucks.
businesses.
That would be the only thing. It would be a lot more activity with cars and, everybody's taking on some more trips.
And I'm not for it.
Yeah.
I like having it all wrapped into one. I'm just throwing out,
An option.
options.
Well, I think the other thing is that the citizens of Huntersville have come to expect a certain level of service. And they also expect, as we all have heard, our roads not to be littered. I mean, that's the reason we have been contracting out with additional service to make sure that garbage is picked up, correct? So I don't think that's the route that we want to go, but I understand what you're saying is an option. Certainly, that's always an option.
We'll do some research to see if other towns that do it and how it works. So we-
But, they do it in Tennessee, and I do not recommend it, just saying.
Let
And,
me pick Tennessee.
hey, the whiskey's good. But I think that as we continue to look at that new contract, these numbers are gonna change. So if you all wanna stay at we can stay at 126 this year, but who's to say that when that contract comes back, that contract doesn't look a whole lot more like a, 150, 170, 200?
And probably
So-
still 55%.
Correct.
We bid it out.
It will come back higher. It did last time, so that's just to be expected. But I think that you all have a good plan at 126. That's what I heard from the majority of you. And we'll reevaluate when that contract comes back. Sound good? Okay.
I think we have, one more, two more? One
We
more
do
item.
need to talk about employee raises.
That was the one item.
That was the last.
So in
Yep.
the manager's recommended budget right now, and you follow the news and everything else out there, what other towns may be doing, and we get more and more of that information. Right now, it's at 6% COLA, 1% merit is what's in the existing manager's recommended budget. I know there's been some talk amongst commissioners, and so we wanted to get some feedback on that. What I will tell you, you've probably seen some of Charlotte's information. They are, some of theirs in double digits, but it's a little misleading in the double-digit raises in that certain folks are getting certain things depending on where you work, et cetera. I know you've probably seen, if you get the league information, the League of Municipalities, you'll see what the population ranges, what they're doing for polls and merits. I think the latest information on cost of living CPI, I think today is 8.3 or 8.5. So you've seen all that information out there, and so we opened up discussion. You know what I've put in the, proposed in the budget right now, but I know there's maybe some debate or discussion, but that's what you'll see until I'm told otherwise.
Clarification question. On the merit, is that up to each individual department head to determine whether or not, say, I'm just going to say it's 2% merit, one individual might underperform slightly and get 1%, one individual might overperform and get 3%, or is it everyone gets 2?
So let's just say say it was 2, pick your
Yeah.
number. Typically what we've done is if you reach a certain point, you know, and if you get the average point, you'll get the max. If it's 2%, if you get below that, you don't. Now, if you are, I don't know what the best word to use, if you're just hanging on, you may not get anything, and we'll probably be looking to push you out the door.
But is it to the department head's discretion?
Well, usually we'll put together a memo, depending on what the board does and how much it is worked with on merit. We have put a memo together, basically, that, and I forgot, what does the point system go up to on it?
I would say
80,
it's at the director's discretion. If you fund a merit when you fund merit, we refer to it as an average merit of X percent. So if you have some below performers who didn't meet the criteria, so they didn't fund they didn't get the full merit that year, you might have some above average performers who got a slightly above, but we funded an average merit of X, and
But
so
it's
that would be an
not-
average merit of
But
1%.
it's not willy-nilly where they have a,
15-point review form, where their employees are evaluated on at least 15 different criteria, and their individual goals for the year.
there are points related to that, you know, it's almost like getting A, B, C, D, E, and you get higher points for A's, and so depending on the points you get, determines whether you are above average or not, I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay, and then the theory is COLA, everyone gets COLA.
COLA, if you're still here when they give out COLAs, then you get the COLA.
Okay.
There's no 4%, 3%. If it's 6%, you get 6%. And the ranges, our ranges are 6%. So when you see ranges, typical government ranges, whatever they, 1 through whatever, I'm just picking one. But,
Sure.
1 through 100. Those ranges, each time you move from 90 to 91 is 6%. Range 92 to 93 is 6%.
All right. I'm probably going to be the outlier, so I'm just going to say it. Number's 11, and the justification for 11% raise is, as Anthony mentioned, month ending March 31st, the inflation rate was 8.5%. 8.5% has not been seen as an inflation rate since December of 1981. Feel free to look that up. These are facts. So you're basically looking at an economy similar to the early 80s, and some of us, I think most of us in the room were alive during that time and have some, thank you, have some vague memories of what happened during that time. One of the things also that happened during that time, interest rates went up at an extreme rate to the point where they were in double digits. You have a lot of interesting things happen, as Stacy had mentioned, gas, holy cow. I am on fumes and I'm dreading the fact that I'm going to put $100 worth of gas in my car. Simple fact, it's just going to happen. 8.5% for a COLA keeps people at 0. That's not a raise. That's basically saying, this is what you earned last year, you're going to earn the exact same thing this year. Your buying power is going to be exactly the same at 8.5%. So the only thing I'm asking for is 2.5% merit. Anthony put 1%. I think he was a little sticker shock shy on the putting on 1% because he knew he had to put at least 6 for COLA. 2.5% raise is not a significant raise. And that is my reasoning behind 11%.
So what's the blend?
It would be 8.5, 2.5. 8.5 is, again, right in line with inflation rate. I will admit that today the number came out, the other number he mentioned was 8.3. Month ending April 30th, the inflation rate is now 8.3. But I'm still saying 8.5 for COLA, 2.5 for merit.
Repeat that again?
8.5 for COLA, 2.5 for merit. 11 total.
Okay.
Jackie, what does each percent mean? Dollars?
Each percent is $180,000.
Okay.
All right, so we're
So
going to,
roughly $2 million for 11%.
Commissioner Kidwell?
I might come from a different background here. So I've worked for corporate America, I've worked for myself, and I've gone back to corporate America. And the one thing that I have never seen, and I've been working since I was 13 years old. I've held a tax-paying job since I was 13. I have paid taxes into this government since I was 13. I know I kind of sound like Charles Ginyer right now, but it is true because I've kept every damn tax return I've ever had. And I have never, ever received a COLA. Ever. I am a firm believer in merit. I'm a firm believer in department heads looking at their staff and saying, you did an excellent job, and I have leeway up to 5%, and you're going to get 5%. And they come to the next person and said, you did average, you're going to get 2.5. And then I go to the other person and said, you didn't do well at all, and you're not getting a raise. In fact, here's a write-up, you're on work. You're about out the door. COLA in most of the regular business world does not exist. In fact, I was talking with one commissioner who was shocked to hear that COLA did not exist. Wow, I didn't know that. You know, OPM, other people's money, and that's what we have here. Playing with other people's money. I believe that our staff does a great job. I believe that our leadership and staff weeds out the weak and weary that do not belong working for the town, and they should have the option to use and merit to guide that. But when Anthony said, if you're and you were just using numbers there, if you hit average, you're going to get the top. You know, if you work for me and you're average, you're not getting the top of the merit. And you certainly don't deserve COLA on top of that. Hey, you did an okay job. I'm going to give you 2.5%. I'm going to give you the 8.5%. You're going to get 11% for doing an okay job. That's not right, especially with taxpayers' money. I think we should forego the COLA because everybody else out in the free world who doesn't get COLA, everybody else out in the free world who's never even heard of COLA, and I say here in the United States, dealing with high gas prices, and Lance, I pay $125 a week to fill up my car, right? 2 years ago, I sure as hell wasn't paying that.
Sure.
3 years ago, I was paying less. But here we are with $4 a gallon. $4.19 a gallon?
One of the
So,
stations
yeah,
said.
$4.19 a gallon. You know, and yeah, we're all in the same boat on that one. So I would humbly suggest a total merit package of 5%, zero COLA, giving the department heads the option to pick and choose who's done a good job and who hasn't.
Commissioner Partee?
Okay, I'm trying to sit here and try to analyze and I come out of, unlike Commissioner Kidwell, I come out of a civil service. I come out of a civil service background for 30 years. Civil service and the private sector are two different animals. And dealing with collective bargaining within the civil service system, you want to make sure that the idea is to provide your employees a livable wage, affordable and a livable wage that would keep up with the CPI and the inflation or whatever the gross national product of the time. Our employees in the town provide a service to the town residents, and they provide that service at the best of their ability. Anybody can go to the private sector and become a private sector employee. I tend to side with Lance, Commissioner Munger, with the merit raise and the proposed COLA raise. I think 11% is adequate. COLA was never part of my system as far as COLA. Our salaries, your merit was built into the salary itself, on top of the, whatever overtime you got as an employee. So as a civil servant, I just want to former civil servant, I'm going to side with Lance Munger with his suggested raise, if I made my point. So.
Commissioner Kovacs, would you like to weigh in?
Yeah, I believe in merit-based pay, and I think it should be differentiated based on performance. So I'd actually like to see the merit pay higher and the COLA lower, because I think that your raise should be based on performance. So I would be more inclined to see a 5% merit pay and a 4% COLA.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Phillips?
Oh, Jesus. So 5.9 is like what COLA is right now for people on Social Security. I think it's really gross to take money from people on Social Security in our community and then give it to our employees to have more money. But also, I don't like raises like this at all, period, because all it does is help people who are in a certain bracket can move up the bracket. And then there are people who make less than certain amounts, like less than $20, $30 an hour, even if it's salary or not, doesn't really move the needle for them. So I'm more a fan of doing bonuses. That way people get their money, and that kind of money can be life-changing for certain people. But when you're talking about, oh, an 11% increase, like, not hating on you, but 11% increase for somebody who only makes $30,000, $40,000 a year, that's not moving the needle much in their life. $5,000 bonus, now that makes a difference. You have somebody who's making six figures, 11% increase, whatever, that moves the needle a little bit for them. But like, I'm big on upward mobility and that kind of stuff. So like when you talk about raises, yeah, you're just helping, like it's classism to me. Percentage raises are classism because they only help certain people. I like bonuses because that levels the playing field for everybody. COLA is COLA is COLA. It is what it is at this point. How many employees do we have, Jackie, roughly right now?
There are roughly 212 full-time positions. How many of them are filled right now? I'd struggle with that. I'd have to look it up. Right.
Oh, Lord.
There's 212 full-time positions in this year's budget, in the 22 budget.
But how many active employees do we have right now?
I'm sure there's a minimum of 7, 8 vacancies in PD.
Right around 200 probably.
That's fair.
So if we did $5,000 bonus for every employee that we currently have, that would only be $1 million. Scrap. And that could even be up to the discretion of the managers.
No, I just want to point out, with bonuses, typically you lose 50% of that.
Taxes.
To the
Taxes.
taxes,
Yeah,
so it would be,
But still, if
it'd be
you,
$1,000 less than a raise.
but it's still more,
At-
but it's still more than any percentage raise certain people would get, is what I'm trying to make the point in saying.
No, I understand what you're saying.
So like 40 to 50% of all employees would actually get more from a bonus than they would from a raise, is your point?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, do we know that number? Is it 40 or 50%?
I'm pulling random numbers out
Okay,
of it.
I just want to make
Yeah,
sure we're
sorry.
pulling round numbers. I don't want to assume that we're
Nope.
paying 50% of our.
It's one of those 39%
Plus,
involves.
selfishly, if you do bonuses, the town's not on the hook for all the other back-end stuff too, which in the end starts saving taxpayers money in the long run. But when we've got people making $15.05 an hour, it doesn't matter if you give them COLA, you give them a 20% or increase or a raise, that doesn't move the needle to make it where you can afford to live in this flipping town. So like, if we're gonna do stuff, let's be like practical with it and actually try to do good for people. Because when I think of bonuses and raises, I think of who makes the least and how we can help them the most.
So are you recommending giving a $5,000 bonus to every single employee regardless of department and regardless of skill set?
Well, I think it could be up to the manager's discretion, like you can give up to 5,000. You might have somebody on your team that you think's not worth anything. But that's, when I was in the private sector, that was how a lot of it worked. We didn't really get raises, we just got fat bonuses sometimes.
So one thing you may think about, like I say, we other towns doing different things, I throw this out as options. It's sort of like what you did with the CARES Act funds. Some of the towns are looking at a certain amount now, whether it's a COLA. So, yeah, it changes. What government has done is changed, because I've worked in agencies that did strictly merit. But a lot of those agencies have moved away from that. Very few just do merit only anymore. And I remember, I think even Huntersville, one year used to do COLA, one year used to do merit. And you probably called it whatever you wanted to, because you didn't give what the COLA was. You probably just said, we'll call it COLA 3%, we'll call it merit 3%. And there's no way the COLA followed along with the cost of living or CPI followed along with that. But what you'll see now, more governments are doing COLA and merit. But my point to get to is that one of the things you could look at, and I know we're kind of all across the board, whatever the COLA may be and whatever the merit may be, is you could look at something like you did with the CARES Act fund in December. You kind of see how things shake out and do, a bonus or something then at that point in time too. So that's something to look at. I just throw that out because some organizations are looking at that too with ARPA funds. A lot of towns have, we did the one-time sort of CARES Act funds with that. That was CARES Act funds, COVID dollars, if you want to call it. A lot of towns are taking the COVID dollars and doing stuff to the employees, whatever it may be. So those are options too that I just throw out there.
Commissioner Phillips, were you recommending no cost of living as well?
I mean, I just wanted to put that out there.
I'm just trying to kind of,
I won't go for a bonus COLA more than 5.9% because of Social Security. Like, it's just a principled
your
matter.
recommendation is 5.9 for cost of living?
I mean, if that's as far as I'll go with that, but I would rather look at, I don't know, like, because our town, God bless Jackie. In the last 10 years, COLA, just straight COLA, has went up 18.8%. However, our town employees, if you go straight COLA that they've received, 19.25%. If you include merit and COLA-based pay in our town, they've gotten 33.75% raises in the last 10 years, which I know not many people have been here. But Huntersville's not a bad paying place, like when you actually do the math and the percentages. So, like, we can sit here all day and argue about town employees, this, that, and the other, but we're taking money from other people in our community and then putting it in the pockets of other people. So that's where I'm really struggling with this.
And see, I look at it as the citizens of our town have hired all of these employees to do a service for them.
We got to keep up with market either way. I mean,
Right.
we can give nothing. But at the end of the day, if they can go to other places and work for other towns, you got to keep up with market. I don't care if you're public sector, private sector. You got to keep up with market. People go to private sector, people come from private sector to public sector. If you don't keep up with market, you're hosed. And that's what you've got to look at no matter what side of the fence you're on, public or private.
Yeah, but raises, like, we wouldn't even have to do raises if we just paid people what they were worth in the beginning.
But that's the same, if you're paying people what they're worth in the beginning, the starting salary may be a whole lot more. So it's still a market thing. I mean, it's still market driven. So that's why we continue to look at that, because we got to be competitive. We're looking at only a third. The way the economy's going right now, you may need to look at a whole each year. You just got to be competitive.
Hold on. Do you have a question for him? Because I would like to get to Commissioner Boone. We've not heard from him yet.
I can hold, and I'm waiting for Commissioner Boone. I apologize.
Well, I appreciate that. Usually we follow Robert's Rules of Order, but they seem to be out the window. But we're all over the place here. I've never been in a group of people that have so many different ideas on merit and COLA and town employees, and this is going to be a tough one. I've heard of, I don't believe in COLA. I've only lived on merit. Well, I live on Social Security, so I know what the 5.9% is in my Social Security check. We're sitting here and discussing increasing in this, increasing in that. Well, if you're sitting here on fixed income, that's just eating into something along with the increases in what it takes you to live. I'm not a COLA person. I do think that we should base our employees' bonus, not a bonus, on a merit type system. We've got to pay the people who are performing, and we keep the people paid well with that. But what I would like to see is a 6% merit pool, and the same thing we did last year or the year before at Christmas time or the month of December, we came out with the end of the year bonus, and I would recommend the same thing that we do that again this year, and I believe it was $1,200 and $750. Help me if I'm wrong here. $1,250 are sworn. And getting back to the bonus, what's good about that? That gives money up front right away for you to take care of things, bills, repair something. But if it is, let's say $5,000, the spendable income on the $5,000 after taxes, what you net out is probably about 60%, 65% of that. $5,000. So where do we go from here? I think that the manager is saying 6. I've heard all the way from 2 8.5s down to 2 zeros on COLA, then merit. Manager says 1, and I've heard all the way to 6. So where do we go?
Well, I think that where we go is this board's going to have to continue to have conversations and work together to find us some common ground here.
Well, this is, I think, what we're supposed to do right now, is work it out.
What were your numbers again, Commissioner?
Mine is,
Yeah.
COLA 0, merit 6, end of the year bonus.
What's the number, what's your number in the bonus?
I think it was $1,200 and $750. $1,200 for sworn officers and $750 for.
I'd be glad to look up what we paid in
Does that
CARES
sound about
Act.
right?
Ballpark sounds close, yes.
750, wasn't it?
750 for regular civil service?
I would have guessed,
Full-time employees.
Full-time employees, yeah.
Yep.
I would have guessed 600 because I thought the hope was that it would be, because it was paid as a one-time check and not included in a normal pay period, it was taxed. It felt taxed differently because that was earnings in isolation. I really thought it was 600, such that the net would be ballpark close to 500, but it'd take a few keystrokes for me to go look.
I think it was 6.
Okay.
Commissioner Munger?
Yeah. So you had mentioned the most recent third market
Yes.
based increase. Do you know what percentage increase occurred? How much that salary increase was as a percent?
No. No, I'm obsessed with the Charlotte Business Journal
Yeah.
article before last week laying on my desk about how much rates had changed, and I really believe they were private sector based, had changed in the last 12 months, measuring February to February.
How much
That's
was
a few
that?
steps away too.
How much was that?
I'm gonna say I think it was 25%.
25% increase. Interesting. I know I've read it somewhere, but if you could remind me in terms of number of employees to actual residents, where does the ratio of Huntersville relate to all of the other municipalities in Mecklenburg County?
You're asking me how much did, say, the Charlottes and the Corneliuses and Davidson's budget?
No, employee
Employees per
to
county.
resident ratio.
Oh, yeah, Bobby.
I'm pretty sure we're the lowest.
We are the lowest, if I remember correctly. We are the lowest ratio in terms of number of employees to actual resident. Our employees serve more residents than any other municipality in all of Mecklenburg County. Current unemployment rate, 3.6%. 3.6. That essentially means if you want a job, just wave your hand in the air. You're getting a job. We have to appreciate the employees we have. In my opinion, we do have the best employees in all of Mecklenburg County, probably all of North Carolina. We need to pay them. That's all I have.
Commissioner Kidwell.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers here, Commissioner Partee, Commissioner Munger, you guys are at 11, Commissioner Kovacs is at 9 total. I think a good 7% is a fair meeting between you two.
So numbers I threw out, 6 and 1.
Remember, we've all got to raise our hand one way or the other on this budget, and it's going to take 4.
I've already lost one hand.
Probably lost 2.
Mayor, just to,
Go ahead.
the reason we kind of, we got away from COLA 1 year, merit 1 year, COLA 1 year, merit 1 year. Board has to discuss and say, look, and I can look on my phone here, what everything has gone up percentage-wise, gas to eggs to bread to whatever you name it. Was to, I forgot who said it, but at the end of the day, those things are going up, the COLA. So the previous board said, look, we need to look at whatever it is, the CPI, because when you look at it, 5.9, I think Stacy said is 1. You hear my numbers, 8.3, 8.5, depending on what you're looking at. But the goal of the board at that time was to say, the cost of living is literally just breaking you even. Excited, chief, you come to work, you get to break even this year, great. And then you have some merit on top of that. Obviously I knew the board was going to have this discussion, we were going to have a debate up, down, et cetera. You saw what I put in there on the, at least the COLA is basically the social security number, 5.9, 6%. And depending on what you look at, I missed it if you look at, this month or last month. You should, I understand the private sector. I mean, I get that. Private sector has big bonuses, that's the way they do it. You look at banks, et cetera, you get stocks, you get bonuses. But you honestly, COLA, just to get you to break even, on what's going on, and then you do something there. You see what I say, 6 and 1 is what I have. Sure, I'd love to get more for the employees. If you go to less than that, I can tell. I probably could bring Chief up right now. I can tell you exactly what's going on in Gastonia. I can tell you what's going on in Charlotte, just from a police standpoint. Those numbers are going to be high. If you go on that, don't come to me complaining about we're losing people. Because I'm going to tell you right then and say, guys, you got us to a point where we are taking a seat. I'm picking on the police. We're finally, for 4 years I've been here, hiring CMPD officers. That ain't never happened that I'm aware of. They literally leave to go to other places. And there's still people that leave for various reasons. Because the economy's so good from a standpoint, I ready to make a good job. But I can tell you, we gotta continue to keep up. Or else, when we start losing more officers, don't come to me and say, Anthony, why are we losing? I'm gonna tell you why we're losing. This board and the previous boards have got us to a point where we are taking CMP officers. That's a great thing. And taking from other places. Because we're a great place to live and work. Hopefully we've got some decent, department heads too. But we gotta stay competitive, is what I will tell you. So if you're looking to go at 5, 4, and 3, I can tell you, it is not going to be competitive.
Well,
Go look at the other towns.
and one of the other reasons that we said in the past that cost of living was so important was we are only adjusting a third. This does keep us somewhat competitive until we reevaluate. And that's something I think that this board has to take into account, in addition to the fact that we don't want to lose employees. It is a competitive market out there. So again, we've heard 11, I've heard 5, I've heard 6, I've heard 5.9, and I've heard 9. And then I've heard 2 commissioners say a $5,000 bonus or an end-of-the-year bonus, depending upon the sworn, non-sworn. So we do need to nail this one down.
When?
When do we need to nail I would love for us to nail
Right
this
now.
one down
Right now.
tonight. If this board feels like you would like to take a step away and then come back, we can do that as well. But I do think that we need to give some direction to staff sooner rather than later. So tonight would be preferable unless you all would like to step back and talk.
Is this the last thing that you want to discuss today, or
This is the last item.
are we going to go anything into the budget at all?
Well, we only have 15 more minutes, 14 more minutes until
Well,
our
then,
time is up.
we've got a long way to go.
We do. Absolutely, we do.
Mr. Kidwell, where do you stand on this? You pretty firm with your,
Yep.
okay?
I'm sorry?
No, you're not.
I missed
You're a
the,
great guy.
He's pretty firm on his
well, the
statement.
thing is, I apologize, but he's already voting no.
But you
Regardless
guys,
of the outcome
you've
of
given me
yes.
a poison pill.
This
Hey,
isn't the poison
hey,
pill.
No,
The
no,
poison
no,
pill
no,
happened before
there's
this.
another poison pill. You're asking me, hey, here's a pill, here's a plate of food, but in that plate of food is a poison pill, enjoy. So yeah, I'm not gonna eat the plate.
But
I'm
you
not
weren't gonna eat the
stupid.
plate prior to this
When,
discussion.
no, before this discussion, you already had one pill in there, now you're putting a second pill in there.
So you've
Why-
already basically
Why would
said
I
you're not gonna
poison
eat it.
myself, Lance? I wouldn't.
Right, but you've already completely stated you're not going to
Yeah,
take part
because
of
you
it.
guys have already poisoned the food.
Well,
I'm
why
not
would
gonna
I
go
want
drink
to
Flint,
negotiate
Michigan
with someone who's
water.
not going to negotiate in good faith?
I'm not negotiating. I've already told you
Okay.
I'm not negotiating.
So would anyone like to hear from Chief? I'd like to hear, if you wouldn't mind, to talk a little bit about cost of living for Warren and what you're seeing out there in the region.
So, thank you very much. Y'all know my number. I'm just gonna, I hate the gas on this fire, because I know y'all are all passionate about where you stand, and I appreciate every discussion about getting races up, so don't want you to think that. But my number at the presentation has always been 52, where I think 52 starting salary, where I think we can be competitive. I've been saying that this whole budget process. This raise we're gonna get, it's not gonna get close to that. It's gonna get up there, but it's, I'm in the Lance and Derek range to get us up to 52. But I did want to say something about COLA, because COLA is I've been dealing with this debate about COLA versus merit for years through several boards, and COLA is all about maintaining salary ranges. That's what it is, a minimum level of salary range. And that's why you move the bottom of the ranges up X percent. You calculate the top range from the bottom, and then it sets the new rates. What happens is, and the reason merit can be bad for us from a recruiting standpoint, especially if COLA is marginal, is because our merit don't apply to a lot of probationary employees. So in our case, you've got, let's say, a half a dozen new CMPD officers, all of them experienced, 10 years experience, very seasoned officers. They come in, they get a COLA, Charlotte gives 10%. We give 6%, they're not eligible for merit here. The door's always open down there. Now, I'm not saying any of them will go back. I mean, they're doing a great job and they're happy here. But what I am saying is we lose ground. And what happened, as you remember from our budget presentation, if you look at the staffing ratio, to be average in our county alone, we're 35, 36 officers short. Impossible for me to hire that many in today's market, so I've not asked for that many. I'm just asking to get us up to full staff. I'm really concerned about, and again, I will waive whatever portion of my percentage I have to get you to understand I'm not looking out for myself. I'm looking out for the health of the department. When I tell you, we've got to stay competitive. We're in a position now where we're finally competitive. If we're 50 or above, we're going to stay competitive. If we drop down, if we stay around 48, We're not going to be as competitive. We're just not. And visuals matter. So, you know, that's where I'm at. You know I'm going to argue on the high side, but I'm not arguing on the high side for my own benefit. I'm really trying to keep us in a very, very competitive place.
And so, Chief, if 50 or 52 is the number this year, when we're having this conversation next year, it's unlikely to be 50 or 52 next year. This is something you're going to have to readdress every year.
I tell you, this has got to change eventually, because y'all know, 10 years ago, we had 20 applicants for every police officer position. This is new territory for all of us. That's why we're having this crazy discussion about these crazy numbers. But regardless of what the Social Security is, regardless of what anything is, I'm trying to compete with other agencies in a very anti-police environment nationwide.
And while, so you've recently filled some non-sworn positions, and you got those sworn to think about too. What I recall uniquely about this year, when I look at the other directors in the room, I can't tell you how many, this year feels unique to me about a director coming to my office and saying they've had an employee be recruited away from another place in government. Probably not true with Kevin, probably not true with Michael, because their folks are going out to the private sector. But I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation this fiscal year about somebody saying my employee has been recruited away to another unit of government. And so the brazenness associated with hearing somebody from another unit saying I'm coming after your people is the same as when Hoyle says I'm going after other people's people, that we have to now, because it is a unique, to not be average in what you award in employee pay is creating a reputation that will take a while for you to correct if you decide to not do that.
I think the conversation, I will tell you, merit historically, and it's certainly true here, merit's not a big factor for us. We've got some high-performing people, and we don't have people sitting around doing nothing. What's really important for us is that we keep the base up. If we have somebody that deserves a zero merit, they won't be working here. Okay? We've got to keep it healthy.
Commissioner Partis.
Chief Hoyle, I sit here and I listen to your plea for an acceptable wage for our police department. As a former law enforcement officer, you sanitize your presentation. I've worked in the streets. The police department, the HPD police department, they're the front line. They're the insulators to protect and serve, protect our lives in this community. What's out there in the street, you have no idea, because this is what this police department, that's the great job they do. Because you don't see the bad guys coming in here, getting ready to sell drugs to our kids, sell heroin to our kids, okay, kidnap our kids, break into your homes, break into your cars, because they're out there patrolling every day and night. And that's what we hire police officers to do. That's what we're hired to do. There's also a fear factor that police officers have to overcome. And that fear factor is taken out when they go through the academy. Because when you step out into that street and you walk up on that car that you pull over, you don't know what you're walking up on. We have an emotional level that we have to, that's built into us to save lives and protect property. And to sit here and negotiate on police salaries is telling you, to me, is an insult. Because cops get shot, cops get killed. It's National Police Week coming up. It's National Police Week to honor those that gave their lives, go to Washington, D.C., gave their lives to protect each and every one of us in this room and out there in this community. We're getting larger as a community. And the larger we get, the more the crime is going to come into this neighborhood. We're a virgin territory for drug dealers. We're a virgin territory for those that want to come in here and take advantage of us. And they're coming. The more we build, the more we develop, don't get it twisted. Our police department is the front line. Our fire department is the front line to protect and serve, and so that we can sleep better at night. I'm sorry I get emotional, because I have injuries from when I served and protected my community. And I will do it again for the men and women, for this department that are protecting our way of life. Our way of life. So, to me, it's a no-brainer. When the chief comes in here and asks for what he needs, we shouldn't be questioning it. That's just my opinion. And the fire department. Because when your house catches fire and you're running out, and they're coming in there to go in there to protect and save people, take children out, take families out, take the invalid that are in there out. That's their job, and they don't question it. So therefore, I mean, Chief, I'm sorry, I get emotional, but
I appreciate it. I just appreciate the opportunity this board has always given me to speak my mind about it. And I want us to stay competitive so bad because we've worked so hard to get where we are. I know Gastonia's over 50 now. I've heard Cornelius is going over 50. I know Charlotte's going up 10%. They're going to be well over 50. I don't know why those numbers are so important when we can hire people above and below the number. I just want to stay competitive. We're really clicking right now. And it's good. And we appreciate all your support in the past. I know you do all you can.
Thank you. Commissioner Goodwill?
I appreciate everything Commissioner Partee said. This is, and Chief, if I'm hearing you correctly, yeah, we do need to bump up our starting salary so we are above 50 and recruiting other officers. And merit on top of that will add to it. The discussion today is not about the starting salaries of sworn officers. It's about the merit plus COLA recommended by the town manager for all employees. All. So I've never been an officer. I support you guys completely. Thank you for your service. I've talked to you before about what you've done. I have the ultimate respect for that. When I look at things up here, it's from a very non-emotional standpoint. It's either, right now, what we got on the table is you got two 11%, and the next one's 9, and then you got a 5.9 with the bonus, a 6 with a bonus, and then I'm coming in dead last at 5. So, from what I heard from the mayor, they need something here in the next 2 minutes. So is anybody coming up? Amber, you here? Barely?
Yeah.
So it's either, to get 3 to move forward, with the mayor breaking the tie, someone's either got to come up or come down.
So I propose that we switch it to a 6% COLA, a 4% merit, and the possibility of a bonus.
That's more money.
Or 6-4, straight up, 10% overall. In an effort to get the votes necessary to get this moved forward.
So the recommendation on the floor is, let's just start with cost of living, 6%. I guess the question is, would Commissioner, I'm sorry?
I had it backwards.
6?
Clarifying for
Okay.
Commissioner Kidwell.
So Commissioner Partee, would you go along with 6?
To be clear, it's 6-4, right?
6-4.
Yeah.
6-4. I'm not going to be laboring. 6-4 is fine.
6, well, you said 6-4 is fine. Commissioner Boone?
6-4 is 10 total, correct?
That is total.
$1.8 million.
So what you started with is 8.5 and 2.5, which is 11.
Correct.
So you've come off 1%.
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay.
overall total.
I'm not going to buy that.
Okay. Commissioner Kidwell?
No, I'm staying where I'm at.
Thank you. Commissioner Phillips? Commissioner Kovacs?
Yeah.
So you were at 4-5, and the recommendation now that's being proposed is 6-4. So 6 cost of living and 4 merit.
I would prefer it actually to be vice versa, but I'm okay with the 10% total.
What did Stacy say? What did she say?
All right. Any discussion?
All right, I'm gonna be the jerk. I adore you, you know I adore you, but I think it's really unfair to have you come up here and talk about our officers and their situations, because what the police department's dealing in right now it's cultural at this point. I feel like we have given you guys last year and this year the tools with the non-sworn to try to alleviate some of the stress off of the officers. I've met officers who moved here specifically to work for Huntersville because they worked at terrible police departments and had terrible elected officials who didn't support them. Some of the stories I've heard are just god awful that people would treat other people that way. And the reason I say all this is Huntersville's got this one town, one team motto. So right now I feel like we're showing favoritism to one specific department. And that's hard because if we don't say yes, then we look like a bunch of jerks who don't care about our cops. We absolutely love our police officers, you know? Like, I have people who tell me, like, who live in other places, they would love to come live here and work for your department. But it's just frustrating because we hear from you, but we're not hearing from, Stephen or Michael or Kevin about their unique situations either, because it's not just the police who are being impacted, it's the other departments too. So I don't know if y'all need to get together, put your heads together, you guys come up with a number collectively that works, because when you say one town, one team, it's gotta.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I'm speaking for the police because I know that topic.
Yeah.
And I know the recruiting, but I can tell you, everybody's got the same cost of living impact as police do. I'm trying to keep our salaries where it is. I just want you to understand the critical nature of our recruiting.
Yeah.
Certainly not trying to, I tell you, I have given up whole budgets before so other departments could do it. I'm all about the one town, one team thing. I just don't have the knowledge on other things.
Well, and I wouldn't respect you if you weren't up here advocating like hell for your people. That's why you are a police chief. But it's nothing against you, but I just want to make sure, like, this conversation's not going to.
I don't like the 6-4. The 6-4 gets us to $48,000, and my new employees that came from Charlotte don't get the merit. So, I don't like the 6-4.
Okay.
So, but I'm so happy about getting it that we need it. So I'm not arguing with it. I'm just saying if it was up to me, it would be a 10 or 11 COLA.
But this all goes back to us getting our base pay where it needs to be, not even, talking raises, this, that, and the other. It goes back to the fire, because like fire raises, it goes back to Kevin's people, it goes back to MJ not being able to get parks employees. It's a bigger conversation.
You mentioned 33%. I don't know how much of that since I've been here, but I'm telling you, y'all have been amazing support. That's why it's so weird to sit here and have a conversation about such high numbers when y'all have done so much for us. But this is crazy times and the market's crazy right now. And that's why I have to stand up here and keep it back. Thank you.
So
Mr. Roberts?
look at the COLA I recommended. Sounds like you're on 6%, so, there's a reason for that. And yes, I understand the police department, they're a little bit different animal, but we're having problems all over town. We're losing people in every department, losing one in HR very soon. It is what it is. Small departments, big departments, et cetera. I recommended 6% for a reason. Is it the perfect number? No. I can look at different numbers, tell you it should be 8, But you just said 5.9 at COLA before. That's 6%. That is the lowest COLA that I could even fathom. Based on the data that's out there, that should be the lowest COLA. And then from there, what you decide to do with merit, hey, but 6% is in line with the ranges. It's a good number it allows you, that's how the ranges move too. So there's some rhyme and reason behind that too. But the COLA happens to be, whichever way you look at it, it ain't no lower than 5.9%. Pick any number you want. Social Security, pick the one from this month, 8.2. So it's no lower than the 5.9.
Well, and at the end of the day, we can sit here and listen to, and bring up every single department head in this town, and I would be very surprised. Actually, what are your thoughts? I mean.
We may be here all night if we bring them all
Right?
up.
That, I mean, I
Same
think
thing.
that every department is losing people. Every department is having similar and yet different challenges because of the nature of what they do. I think that, I don't know that we want to be here that long, Commissioner Boone.
To make a substitute motion, did you make yours in the form of a motion? Help me out, Emily, was that just?
No,
We're just doing
there's
straw
no
poll as
motion,
far as I
it's
know.
straw poll.
included the notice the ability to vote.
Okay.
So can I make a substitute suggestion then? Is that the right
Yeah.
way to go? Okay. We're not going anywhere right now. We're in 3 and 3. So I don't want to compromise, but for the good of the town, I'm going to go with the manager's 6% COLA. I started at 0. In merit, I'll go to 2. I was at 5. But along with that, we increase the firefighters by $2 an hour. And that was one of my suggestions earlier that we hadn't gotten to. It's $300,000 extra dollars to the budget to have a $2 raise for a department that's making $14.50 minimum firefighter. And using your words, Lance, somebody that protects your home during a fire. So I'm not happy with the COLA, but sometimes it's our job. If everybody walks out of here mad, I think that that's a pretty good budget. So 6, 2, and $2 for the firefighters.
An additional two, now did,
That was one, right now it's proposed
Right.
$1.
A total 3.
so a total of, that's what I was trying to get
Okay.
at, so make sure everybody's remembering those numbers.
Because all they can do is, their standard has been, I'm 1 year, down, year.
Right.
You know, sure they would have.
But they're still looking at the same figures that the people in Public Works and the same gas pump that Lance is gonna go fill his car up with, and so.
So Commissioner Boone has made a recommendation of 6% cost of living, 2% merit, with an additional $2 raise for the fire department.
Was it a total
Hour.
of $2 an hour?
No, it was an additional $2. There's already $1 in there.
Yes,
Right,
sir.
So a total of 3.
3.
So that's, 286 would have given him $1 an hour, and so it's 286 times 3 to get him to $3 an hour.
There you go. I've got the figures down here if you like.
Thank
me to
you. No, that's
dig 'em up.
Okay, so that is the proposal currently on the table.
So I might ask my other commissioners that I know that you're very passionate, what I've heard today. And I think that where I started from, I think I've come to meet you there. I'll just be quiet. Go
I
from
think
there.
that you have put that out there. Commissioner Kovacs, your thoughts on this proposal?
Oh, that sounds good to me.
You're a
Got
bad
it. No, I do think, I like the addition of the raise for the firefighters also, because I know that's kind of a different pot. I do want, I would prefer for them, again, I said it before, merit to be higher than COLA. But, and that's 2 and 6, you said?
6 cost of living, 2 merit, and then $2 additional per hour for the fire department.
I'm I'm gonna make an assumption that's as high as you're gonna go, Commissioner Boone.
I don't know, 11 o'clock tonight, I might change my mind. Right now, I've compromised quite a bit, and I'm not usually one to move the bar that quick, so. And we've got to pass this budget. And again, not everybody's going to get what they want. And we got to pass it and get on with the business of the town.
If you'd like, I can come back to you, Commissioner Kovacs.
Yes, please.
Okay. Commissioner Munger.
Not a chance. I mean, our town manager gave us 6-1, which was a 7. I said 11, and somehow we decided compromises almost all the way back at the beginning. If you're gonna compromise, it has to be somewhere in the middle, somewhere more middle-centric.
Well, Commissioner Boone did move quite a bit with his record. He was at 0 for cost of living and 6 for merit, so
Yeah, but
he
that
did.
wasn't realistic.
He
That
did
wasn't
move.
realistic from the get, in my opinion.
So you're a no.
I'm a no.
Okay,
We'll just leave it at
Commissioner
that then.
Goodwill. Hey, I'm doing my job here. Got it. Commissioner Partee.
No.
You're a no. Commissioner Phillips.
What Dan's asking for is more expensive than what Lance just asked for. That's what, it is. It's his, unless I'm just stop doing math, it's over 2 million. Yours is 1.98 million.
It's because we added the firefighters in there that,
But there we go, showing different departments favoritism again. They at least got to ask for raises. They would have asked for more if they wanted more.
All right, so where we're, Commissioner Kovacs, would you like to weigh back in?
Could we do an additional dollar for the firefighters on top of the dollar they asked for? And then I just can't get over the COLA being more than merit.
Spit out the one number you want to hear. You're here, you have a voice, do it.
I would prefer five for merit or for COLA and an additional dollar on top of the dollar, so 2 total for fire.
So what was that?
So you're back to your original, 4% cost of living, 5% merit, but then you want to add on an additional dollar for fire.
Yeah, if we're talking about it all right now.
So we were at 6.4 with Partee, Munger, and Kovacs saying, agreeing to 6.4. We have a substitute over here with 6 cost of living, 2 merit, and 2 additional dollars for fire. And now we've got 4, 5, and 1.
And it's 4 COLA, 5 merit?
4 COLA, 5 merit.
I just want to make sure I have the.
That's what I have written down. That's because Commissioner Kovacs says she would prefer to see cost of living lower than merit.
Mhm.
Amber, that's where you started at, right? 4 or 5? You
Yes.
just added to 1.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
So what about you do 5, 5?
I don't think we have the votes to go 5-5.
Do
Is
what?
that safe to say?
I'm sorry, I didn't,
We don't have the votes to
5%
set
cost of
5-5.
living, 5% merit.
are you asking my,
I'm
just-
asking you specifically, would you go 5-5 with the 1?
I would probably go another dollar for the firefighters.
5-5 with the 2? or
552, excuse me, 452.
4-5-2? You would be open to 4-5-2? Derek?
4% COLA, 4% merit.
4% COLA, 5% merit, $2 firefighters.
Commissioner Purdy?
4%. Repeat that?
4% cost of living, 5% merit, and then 2 additional dollars per hour for the fire department.
Two additional or one on top of one that we have?
I heard 2 additional,
He's saying 2 additional.
so that would be a total of 3.
No, 2 total.
Yeah, Commissioner Boone's making a slight alteration to your suggestion.
Oh, I thought you said,
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, maybe I heard wrong. I thought you said 1 additional.
She did say 1 additional on top of the 1 already appropriated. You're
Right,
saying
and I'm
2
saying
on top of the
2
1.
on top.
Total of 3.
Right. I'm just clarifying.
That just took us to 2.1 million.
So is that a big no for you?
No,
All right, where's your middle? Is the 541, 451
What if we-
open?
I'm going back to what Anthony suggested. This is getting out of control.
Yeah, it's
So-
just-
Next thing you know, it's gonna be $5 million.
So-
We gotta pay for this somehow. We're not going up on fees, we're not going up on taxes. So like, I'm sitting here, like, I look like a fool, but like, you gotta balance it out, otherwise we're gonna have a massive tax increase eventually.
So the manager's recommended budget is a balanced budget, 6% cost of living, 1% merit.
Anthony wins. That's all I can do.
That's up to y'all.
I need to hear from the other members of the board.
Absolutely
These
not.
guys are dead nose on that.
We got 2 no's. Commissioner Kovacs, 6-1, back to the manager's recommended budget.
No.
I've got 3 no's. I'd imagine I have 4 no's.
Nothing for the firefighters, I'm not raising my hand.
This budget's not gonna pass.
Well,
How about this, guys?
we have no
Guys,
choice.
How about 6.2, an additional $1 for the fire?
Then why not an additional for parks and Kevin's people? Why not make a town rule that nobody in this town makes less than $16 an hour?
Trying to get us to, something we can adopt. 6 is a COLA that, like I say, you approved a 5.9, even Social Security should be 6.
Right.
That should be a no-brainer for us. We stay there. Then it's all about merit. If I said 1, and you got some up to 5 or whatever, I'm just trying to get us to a point that we can get something adopted. It's
Well,
moving the needle, good. And then as fire department, like I said, the chief asked for 1. I'm not going to argue, I'm sure he'd love to have 2. And he'll come back and ask for another $1, if he goes with the normal plan. But sure, if he knew he was going to get 2, absolutely would ask for 2. If I knew I was going to get 10, I'd ask for 10. But we always take care of the fire department. We have been, this board has, the previous board has. We will continue to do that. He needs a truck, we bought 2 or 3 trucks in 1 year. So I'm cool if you decide to give him, 2, I have no problem with it. I'm trying to get us to a point we can agree to adopt the budget. That's what I want
Can
to
we
do.
take a 5-minute recess?
yes, we can take a 5-minute recess, please. We'll be back, we'll just be back at 7:25. together and then wrap this up. So I believe I heard we left it at 6% cost of living, 2% merit, and one additional dollar for the fire department per hour. Commissioner Munger.
Yeah, I'd like to make a hopefully middle ground compromise. I would ask for a 5% merit, 4% COLA, and $1.50 on top of the dollar.
Hey, we need to switch that.
Wanted 5 merit. No, 5 COLA.
COLA.
My apologies.
Okay.
Rewind. 5% COLA, 4% merit, $1.50 on top of the dollar for the firefighters. You're right, I messed that up, sorry.
Okay.
On top of the dollar, that's 2.5 then.
Total of $2.50 raise for the firefighters, the dollar's already in there, $1.50 on top of the dollar.
All right. Any additional conversation around that? Commissioner Phillips?
Nope.
Hold on. Chicken scratch, give me a second. Commissioner Boone?
Mm-hmm, yes.
Commissioner Partee?
Yes.
Commissioner Kidwell?
Town manager was at a total of 7%. Now we're at 9. I suggested 5. So I dropped it by 2%. I'll let the 3 votes have it. I will pass on that.
Okay.
That hand.
Commissioner Kovacs?
Yes.
Commissioner Munger?
Yes.
All right, so you have your direction, I hope you've got that. That is 5% cost of living, 4% merit, and $1.50.
2.5.
2.5 total.
So what are you guys gonna do if other departments start coming up and saying that they would like additional money that they didn't ask for originally too? And I'm not asking that to be like a smarty pants, but I'm really asking, like, are you gonna say yes to the dress to them too?
I think all the other departments are here, aren't they?
Yeah, but what if they might not wanna do it now, or they come back to us later, their employees see this, and then they say, well, why didn't you fight for us? You have to be open to that.
We fought for a month.
Well, I would say that, I know what Commissioner, or Mr. Roberts,
I'm glad I never become a question, but
I know, heaven forbid.
I'll just be blunt. At 9%, if they complain, there'll be a problem. I mean, 5 and 4, 9%, that is, if someone has a department head or a person wants to get up and complain about that, then that's tough. When the manager proposed, what he proposed, I think they'd be very happy.
Commissioner Kidwell?
No.
All right, well,
No.
there were 4
Let's move on.
votes, so we'll move on. Mr. Roberts, was there anything else that you wanted to cover this evening? We can go through the budget and answer everyone else's questions this evening, or we can schedule another workshop.
I'm good. If we need other workshop, obviously, we will do our modifications. I won't have probably the, I've got to sit down with Jackie and Patty and, revise the documents, so I don't know that we'll present our PowerPoint, on Monday with revised numbers and clean that up. But I don't know that Patty will have the final book squared away by then, so, no, the answer is no.
I wouldn't do
Right.
another book,
Correct.
I wouldn't do another book
No.
again, but I can run through, these changes will be done.
We'll clean up everything and we'll be ready for Monday's public hearing with the new proposed numbers. And, but unless you tell me otherwise, if you want more workshops, we'll have more workshops, but I hadn't planned on any. I've got to answer what you wanted, but It's up to you.
So-
Anthony, I heard via email from 2 commissioners with budget questions, and I feel like we went through those and the commonalities I think we've talked about tonight. If there's some burning issues, we're already here till 7:30. This is an opportunity to, there's 1 or 2 more, let's just.
Correct. And that's kind of my thought as well, is if you have a couple of questions or a question, and we can start, we can start in the beginning of the budget, and if there's any questions that you have that are burning, that you do not have answers to, tell us a page number, and let's get it answered.
If it's a one-off, I don't know what's in dues and subscriptions, maybe that's not the opportunity, but if there's a big global, hey, why is this vehicle, or why is this vehicle here, let's go through that.
Okay? Are there any questions?
Lance, yes, sir.
Yes.
Just a general question across multiple departments I'm seeing.
Well-
Insurance spiked. Is that just
Property and general liability, we have been suggested by our broker, that includes cybersecurity insurance, and so that product, we were advised that we probably are looking at a 15% increase, so there's a 15% increase in property general liability across the board that's budgeted. I hope that's worst case scenario, we'll see.
We bid that out, Jackie, we'll be bidding that out, the brokers of that.
Our broker bids insurance every year for us,
bid.
be that health or property general liability. And I'm hopeful that he has taken a pessimistic view and it'll be appreciably less than that. We'll see.
I would say that all 3 categories went up, the property in general went up, the vehicle went up 1%, went up 15, and workman's comp. So all 3 of those did increase, and that's what that is. I did that math, that's what that is.
Okay. And relating to a specific incident with one of our canine units, we had discussed the possibility of having insurance on the dogs. Is that anywhere in this budget?
My recollection is, based on what we pay for dogs, we replace the dog when necessary. Is that fair?
Okay, because I know, and thankfully Dr. Mark is a saint and took care of that dog, but it is not an insignificant cost when a dog is injured in the line of duty. So, I personally would like to see that, just because of that incident, it brought it to light for me. I have other questions, but I have to find them.
All right.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Kovacs, do you have any questions regarding the budget? And if so, would you give us a page number so that we can turn to it as well?
Can I just send you an email? They're really small questions, there's
Yes.
a lot of little ones.
Absolutely, thank you.
Mayor, may I interject? I have a suggestion I'd like to make. Elephant in the room, the air filtration system at HFFA.
Correct.
In my opinion, I would recommend that you're gonna have to do something there, irregardless of what you do with the budget. So I would suggest that we consider that at a different time, because you're probably gonna use fund balance for that anyway. So if there are multiple questions about the air filtration system, we don't have Zach here tonight. I would suggest that we consider that outside the budget process.
Works for me. Everyone else good with that? Yes? All right, seeing all nods. Commissioner Phillips,
I've already asked mine.
perfect. Commissioner Booth?
Yeah, I've got the police transportation van. Tell me about that.
So I wish I had some pictures to show you. So we've got a lot of police equipment, as you can imagine. We've got SWAT team has shields and robots and different things, and they're stored at the police department. And when we go out on a call, when they get called out, we have to come back to the police department, load that stuff up, load it into different vehicles, and take it to the scene. This van is really just a utility transportation van where we will keep that equipment in that van, and when we get called out, we'll send one person back, get the van, go to the scene.
Why isn't that stuff in the Bearcat, the shields and all that stuff? Why wouldn't you keep the...
Bearcat's not big enough on the inside for storage because it's armored, and it's just not suitable for that. This is really utility van. It's not a purpose-built van. It's not one of these $500,000 special operations vans. It's just an
If you
equipment.
got a picture of it, could you send it to us so we could just take a eyeball and see what it looks like?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's a plain white E350.
Okay.
You know
And
what our crime scene van looks like?
I do.
Same thing.
There's no writing on that.
Is it a
I
350?
don't know if we'll put light or anything like that, but it's
Yeah.
going to be the same type of van with compartments.
Okay, and I emailed some questions over to Jackie, and she's answered those on a one-on-one basis. Thank you, Jackie. And the other thing is, I was on the fence as far as the new captain, and had lunch today with one of your folks, and I'm going to go ahead and support that.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Commissioner Partee?
I spent 20 minutes with Jackie, and she answered all my questions. Thank you.
Wonderful. Commissioner Kidwell?
Yeah, on page 30, external agencies jumped up from 50,000 to 130.
Page 30.
Yep, page 30. What are these external agencies?
You want to see this? Oh, you want to get it
Okay, so I would say from the general head nod we did at our most recent workshop, the page 30 would represent the general fund summary of what the general consensus was at that meeting. And is it page 96? I don't remember what page. The tourism-related funded external agencies are funded in a separate place.
So why don't we have them broken up?
We need to put them as a lump sum versus a line item sum due to the new ethics rules, because we've already approved the total amount that we're going to fund based on the previous meeting. And so because each each commissioner needs to vote on the budget, if we have them broken out that way, we're trying to avoid any ethics violations by having them broken out by line item, because we've already approved the total dollar amount.
It sounds more like we're trying to hide the fact that we're having commissioners who sit on boards vote on spending taxpayer money on these agencies, or we're calling them agencies, let's call them nonprofits, local charities. If we're gonna do it right. They're gonna have to recuse themselves and rely on the rest of the board to vote on it.
That's what we did. Remember, we had,
I remember the head nod, but there was no official vote.
we had folks leave the room. If you were involved in that agency, you left the room.
Right.
And
Well, but it's still here. It should be broken out line item, and they should not have the ability to vote on the budget.
So the reason we did that, Robin,
I understand your reasoning. I do. I disagree. I think it's questionable. I'm curious what the School of Government's going to say on that. They should definitely take a look. 'Cause that's, or even the Attorney General, Josh Stein. I mean, we've got a law passed that says if you're on the board, you cannot vote to give them money from a municipal,
And that's why in conversations with finance and management, we had talked about what would be the approach. And I did actually reach out to School of Government and also talk to other attorneys on the local government listserv. And this is one of the approaches that they recommended, was
So
having
they
prior
recommended
action.
hiding it.
Not hiding it, but having prior action on the dollar amount. And then when it's time to vote on the actual budget, because the dollar amount has already been approved by the board and recusals taken, then you are basically voting on a pre-approved dollar amount.
So Emily,
For charities that they sit on the board for. You're still voting on giving them money.
We had talked about having the contracting process done prior to the budget vote, because those dollar amounts have already been pre-approved. So technically, you would not be voting on making a contract, as that contract would already be entered into essentially.
We can spin it any way we want, but we're going to have sitting commissioners who sit on the boards of these. They're going to be in an ethical quandary, voting on a budget to give said board money.
Another approach, if you would prefer to do it that way, is the board can vote on a dollar amount. I'm just going to throw an example out. You could vote on, let's say, 150,000, 200,000, whatever hypothetical you'd like to use, without breaking it out. And then later, once the board has voted on a budget of 150,000 or 200,000 for external agencies just as a whole, you can then later, as a board, vote separately to parse out that dollar amount that you've pre-approved in the budget. So that's an alternative option if you'd rather do it that way.
No, I mean, I'd rather not give any money to charities. I don't think it's our right to give taxpayer money away. I mean, if I wanted to go to Lance and say, Lance, give me 20 bucks, I'm gonna donate it to someone's favorite charity, and then he gives me 20 bucks, I'm like, oh, it's going to Donald J. Trump. He's gonna take that money back. You know, and I know how he feels about Donald J. Trump. And that's why I said it. And I did donate to Donald Trump in Lance's name during the election just for him. Because he is, no matter how much we could banter back and forth, he's still a friend. And I give my friends all the time. So, you know, it's, you know, we're picking and choosing charities, whether it's, you know, I like this one, or, you know, you like this one, or I serve on this board. It is not our right to give taxpayers money away. That's their opportunity. Who I donate my money to is up to me. You know, whatever charities I so desire, if I want all my money to go to the Catholic Church, I'm going to put it toward the Catholic Church.
So it's my understanding that this board already made the decision on how to spend those dollars with the appropriate commissioners being recused. This is the dollar amount that's currently in the budget. And I respect both ways of doing it, but it is a process that has to be followed. Does any, Commissioner Munger?
Question related specific to this topic.
Yes.
Have you had the opportunity to speak to the School of Government about this particular issue, and what was their reply?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, it has been raised with the UNC School of Government as well as on the local government listserv of all of the municipal and county attorneys across the state of North Carolina. And these were the two approaches that it boiled down to, either having the board pre-approve a certain dollar amount for nonprofits in general, such as 200,000, voting on that 200,000 in the budget, and later parsing it out per external agency or nonprofit with the proper recusals in place at that time, or you could do it on the front end where you basically vote on the individual dollar amounts per nonprofit, and then put the pre-approved, having already done the recusal process on the pre-approved amounts, put that total dollar amount in the budget and vote on it that way.
Okay, sounds like we've taken the proper diligence, in my opinion.
Look, keep that 20 bucks out there.
Not a chance.
All right. Any other questions regarding the budget, Commissioner Kidwell?
Yeah, parking deck. I noticed it's on expenditures on several pages, but I see no revenue from the parking deck.
The
Look on the
single,
front page.
the single source of revenue on the parking deck is the DPK contract for.
Well, what about the parking deck itself? Shouldn't we start charging for the parking deck? I mean, you go down to Charlotte-Mecklenburg, you gotta pay to use the parking deck. You can get it squared away up there. They can sign it, and you can walk out there and not pay it, but validate it. Shouldn't we start changing? I mean, DPK is bringing in, what were those numbers? A couple thousand people a week, something like that, and they're parking for free. I mean, that's we talked about increasing the tax on tags. How many people are coming from out of town using this? We can start bringing that in. There's something for greenways, trails, roads and such.
Commissioner Kidwell, I've thought the same thing for quite some time. I think until we get actual businesses growing out down here, I don't know that you want to ask, your
Well, it's not about
residents
the
to
business.
charge.
We have thousands of people a week coming to DPK from outside of this town. We're not asking residents.
And DPK gets us, part of the agreement, the original agreement, they get so many slots. You'd have to mark those off, but as part of the original deal of the DPK deal, at least if you recall, they've got so many allocated spots.
And they can validate.
that would be one option. Any other, Commissioner Boone?
Yeah, what do you, Mr. Roberts, what do you think it would cost to get some type of machine in there to take your money or your credit card? Any idea what the cost of that would be? And
I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't looked at one in forever. I don't know if Kevin or Stephen have in a long time. And then, you know, you gotta, probably, you'd want to make it, some type of access card or whatever. I just don't
so
know.
the first time that I can't get the gate up, I can call Kevin and he can come undo
You
it.
just run through it.
Anytime. Are there any other Commissioner Munger?
Yeah, I have 4.
Okay.
And first one is related to that gate. When is that gate going to be functional?
Which one?
The
Parking
parking
deck
garage gate.
MJ? Parking garage gate, who maintains the market, Kevin or you?
So
There you
here's
go.
my issue, and I brought this up when we passed it, Amber's favorite topic, North State. North State is going to start building things there. Wouldn't that be a great place for construction workers to park their vehicles? Wouldn't that cause huge problems for us?
So I guess we got a sound operator there.
Oh, right now it's a public deck, so if Rob wants to go park his, you know, his car and his, all his kinfolk's car over there at certain times, he can.
Yeah, and once we actually build North State, and we have all those apartments, and they can park out in the parking lot or under the structure of a parking garage, where are they gonna park?
They
I'm gonna
can.
park in that parking garage.
It may be something we
At that
need
point, we
to
need
look
to
at, whether it's
certainly
pay, you know, whatever, but right now it is public.
All right. On page 52 of the police department budget, there's a gigantic drop in salaries. I have a theory that that relates to ARPA funding.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
That's a huge.
Just wanted to confirm. This one's more of a general statement. We are spending a lot of money on sidewalks and sidewalk repairs. Are we ever going to address the issue of where we put those trees and how we space that so we can stop fixing
Jack and his
sidewalks?
team are looking at it now. We don't want Jack and Kevin in the fight before we leave tonight, but no, they are addressing that in the, is it HOAB or how are y'all dealing with that? Staff level, and then they'll take it to HOAB. So they are, I've seen, you know, some of the documents that they're reviewing now.
As long as we're moving down that road, because I know we're spending a lot of money to fix all the sidewalks all over the place. And Jackie, question, how much total debt do we have outstanding at this point in time? Approximate?
42 million.
Sounds good.
I'll say 43.
All right.
Well, we're just throwing random stuff out there. I think that we, at minimum, should remove the board and probably all town employees from getting subsidized memberships to HFFA. That would free up, if we did it for every department and the town board, $33,417, which is nothing considering how much you guys have just spent today. But it's a step in the right direction. And at least with the town board, even though that is, you know, $1,800, we're getting raises in this budget. So it feels kind of shady to take money from the town employees as we're getting raises and get subsidized when the people we represent don't get the same subsidized, like, membership. So
Anyone? Or it's just statements?
Well, I use the membership, so if you want to take it, that's fine with me.
Okay.
And Derek, you're in the same position I am. It's, I'm going to continue to use it, probably silver sneakers or something, or
Well, I have paid that due for 10 years and I do not use it. And I've paid it because I believed in being a part of that community facility. And so if we take it away, then I just won't pay and I don't use, so hey, more money in my pocket.
How many folks do we have using it right now? I think, Jackie, about
Oh,
30 something?
37 individual and 30, oh, was it 57?
I'm gonna guess 57 employee.
Oh, wait, I might have it written down.
You got it written down, sorry.
Commissioner Partee?
Oh, no, it's 37 individual, 30 family, and 4 commissioners.
Can I?
Yes.
Most of your private sector companies and public sector companies, they incentivize healthcare, working out, maintaining healthcare, because that reduces our insurance, health insurance, when we have a great, healthy workforce. So I think, not that I think, I know, because like you say, Commissioner Boone and myself, we're there 5 days a week, because health is my issue here. So I would like to maintain it and use that as an incentive for our employees to maintain a healthy lifestyle, and it's also a bonus for them.
I do think that's an
And their
interesting
families.
thought.
That's what we use it for. I mean, it's an incentive for employees. I mean, I know Kevin, some of those will tell you. I don't know which departments have, you know, I'd have to look that up, but you heard the numbers. How many is individual, how many is, now, how many actually go down there? I don't keep count of that, but it sounds like 50 or 60 employees are using some shape, form, or fashion.
So how much do they pay? How much is their membership that they pay for?
Town pays roughly, what,
The town pays $12 a pay period, and the employee, if it's an individual owner.
what's the round up to yearly number? That makes it easy.
Well, I know, but I only know, I had that
So,
somewhere. Oh, where is that?
120
462?
bucks, so if you have an individual membership as an employee, what you're paying bi-weekly adds up to 120 bucks annually.
Yes,
What the town's paying on your behalf adds up to 380,
360.
360 annually. And if you were a Huntersville resident, walked in off the street, the rate that you would be charged would be monthly, but annually, that would add up to $815.
Right.
Depending on what age group you're into.
Yes.
I had that worksheet. Oh, here it is right here.
Commissioner Kovacs, are you still with us?
I am, it's really hard to hear, so I don't think I heard what everybody was saying, but to be honest, I actually didn't realize until earlier that the town subsidizes the other portion of it for the employees. I just assumed it was part of the contract since we fund so much of HFSA. So, like, for instance, I signed up for it, but I don't use it, and now I actually feel bad that I signed up for it because the town's paying and I'm not using it.
Right.
And so it makes me wonder how many employees are signed up for the membership and the town is paying a portion of it and they're not actually using it. So I'm actually on board with what Commissioner Phillips was saying.
How about if we just take it away from the commissioners and leave it with the town employees?
But it sounds like we're burning holes.
I think it's, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Kidwell?
I think it's a good incentive for the employees.
There you
You
go.
know,
Why wouldn't we just give them, why would we just give them 120 bucks each and then you go join whatever gym you want to?
do that too if you want, but I think having this right here, when they leave work, they can stop by, they can go there before they come into work, it's right there.
It's a town-owned
Yeah,
facility.
town-owned
But we're also cooking our own books technically with this because that's part of the profit at HFFA, so it's just something I'm not comfortable with.
Okay. I mean, I'm all for leaving it for the employees. Yeah. If the commissioners, if you guys want to remove from yourselves, that's fine. Like I said, I don't belong there, that's up to you.
It's your call, whatever the board wants to do.
I will abstain from that vote.
Commissioner Munker?
I mean, you absolutely should keep it for the employees, whether or not we have it. I don't use it.
I was a member before I got elected for over 10 years, so it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I'm going to be a member no matter what. Because I'm his personal trainer, I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that. That's interesting. So are you good with leaving it for the employees?
Absolutely.
Okay. Commissioner Kovacs, are you good with leaving it for the employees?
I can't hear you, Will.
I said, are you good with leaving it for the employees and just removing it from the board?
Sure.
She sounds bad.
All right. Okay, so I guess we have direction. We'll be removing that option from the governing body, but leaving it for the town employees,
You had it, Patty?
Starting July 1, obviously.
starting July.
Yes.
Are you awake?
I'm barely hanging on.
Mayor, my goal was to make the chief laugh tonight, and so I just want you to know that I went to pick up my audit to see what the debt was, and I was right, it is 42 and not 43 million, so.
Well done.
42 what?
I was thinking.
42,028.
All right, are there any other questions this evening?
I think we've accomplished an awful
I
lot.
agree. I think that this board, staff, thank you all for staying here as late as you have. It's 8 o'clock for all practical purposes. Greatly appreciated. We do need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
A motion and a second. All those in favor? Good night, Huntersville. Anyone who's watching,